Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan, and joining me once again today is CJ of Hothead Collective. How you doing, CJ?
I'm doing good, bro. How are you doing?
Just fucking wonderful. Just a great start to 2026 out here, right?
Oh God, don't even.
Yeah, we're 9 days in.
I'm escaping reality with my print media. Okay,
there you go.
Yeah,
and that's what we're talking today. We're talking print media. That's what this whole episode is going to be about. In some way, shape, or form. We kind of have an outline, but we'll run it as we go. But this episode is pretty much going to be talking about magazines, zines, digests, periodicals, different stuff across the entire tabletop space, mostly focusing on ttrpgs and then skirmish and war games, but some of them touch on, I think some of them touch on some other parts of the tabletop space a little bit, and we can address those a little bit. But, we got CJ here, partially because, he's a fucking cool guy, but secondly, because he puts out Glaive magazine, which we have talked about here on the show, but has a lot more context with that kind of print media and some of the older stuff and the skirmish scene and everything in general. So that's what we got the expert here with us on the show today.
I'll reluctantly bear the expert mantle. I just love print media across like all, even outside of gaming. So I was like stoked to jump on this with you and chat about this stuff because there's just a bunch of really awesome shit that we're going to talk about that like it can be so varied, that hit on so many different things. So, Ryan sent me like a sick little list of just all the coolest shit that we're into, and I was like, this is dope. Let's definitely like go top to bottom and just talk about everything. So he's got a list we're gonna cook through. I think you said I'm first. Since I'm here, you wanted to make me feel good about myself, so we're gonna talk about Glaive first.
yeah and leading into Glaive, because that is, I do have a list. We're gonna go through kind of broke them up by size, kind of, right? So we're gonna have magazines at the top, which are full magazine size, zines and digests, which are mostly like A5 or like America digest size, like 5.5 by 8.5, and then some miscellaneous stuff across the board. But starting with Glaive, and before we get into Glaive, you said you've been into print media for a long time. Kind of what again, go watch the Glaive episode. We'll talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah.
But briefly, what got you into print media to Glaive?
We talk about it in the Glaive episode, but I guess TLDR, growing up in subcultures in the 90s, early thousands, kind of beginning of social media is kind of like my childhood, so we were still like, I feel like growing up I was still, when it came to subculture stuff, influenced by print media like Thrasher magazine, like PlayStation magazine, like all that kind of stuff. I had like subscriptions to that my parents would get for me, and I would read. I'd like flip through Thrasher. That kind of informed me, like informed how I would dress, and what I thought was cool was like what the skaters were doing, and then like in PlayStation magazine, which is like such a funny thing to think about. They used to ship with like demo discs, and you'd put it in your PlayStation and it would have like 10 different games on this demo disc, but they had it so you could only play the game for like 30 minutes and then it would stop, and then you'd basically like restart. So I remember and also growing up, I couldn't play, my parents were really strict about the like rating on games, so I couldn't play like a T-rated game until I was a teenager, until I was 13. So like when I was 12, I could only play the 12 plus games, but I couldn't play the T-rated games, and I couldn't play obviously the M-rated games until I was much older. But on the demo disc, like, my parents didn't know that I had like 30 minutes of GTA on there, so I would boot that up, and like it was the only way I got a taste of these like other games. And dude, I would play the shit out of these like demo discs. I had like a CD binder just full of demo discs. And so this like old print media, highly influential on me as a child. And I think we hit like kind of the end of that, like probably out of the golden age of that into kind of the like last remnants was even what I was experiencing like in the early thousands. And it was still, like so influential on me as like a kid and on my tastes and what I really loved. It was just a way to engage with these subcultures that is it like an analog way that takes you out of like looking at the internet and stuff, which back then wasn't so much of an issue because we weren't all like glued to our phones like we are now. But now, you know, when we're putting out like these, you know, I imagine a lot of the creators and a lot of these people I have spoke with and know who make a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. A big part of it, and a big part of Glaive is like bringing back a way to engage with these subcultures and our hobbies and our communities that don't involve us like doom scrolling, like endlessly scrolling on Instagram, you know, because Instagram, Discord, they're like such a fantastic space to directly interface with these communities, but it's just a slippery slope that I personally know I fall victim to that and trip up and end up, you know, an hour goes by, I have no idea what I've looked at, you know, it's like the worst thing. So opening one of these and like flipping through and like wasting your time reading a magazine is like way more, it's just way fucking cooler. And it allows me to like curate stuff that I think specifically is cool and force my tastes and opinions on people who buy the magazine, you know, which is like also cool. Like we need tastemakers and curators. Like that's what communities and spaces need.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I've recently found myself falling into that trap a bit. I had to delete Instagram off my phone because I was like, fuck, like I had a day off and I'm sitting here and 2 hours went by and I haven't even started my fucking day yet. And it's all it's the explore tab and it's all that bullshit, you know, like, hey, if you click the logo on Instagram, you can go to your follower list and that's your curated space. You know, Blue Sky's better without the algorithm, kind of, because you have your curated space. But you're right, that's kind of what's missing. And what I really love about zines, like what you do with Glaive, is being able to find the community you enjoy and being able to find a tastemaker or a curator in this space that you agree with or find interesting, and having that little bit of space, not the endless void of the real world and or the internet, but just that curated chunk, which is fantastic.
Or even like it forces you to not be able to engage like right now, right? Like let's say you, because you know, it doesn't have to be an echo chamber, right? Let's say you get like a magazine and you don't agree with what they're saying, but it doesn't allow you to immediately go into the comment section and be like, fuck you, you're so stupid, right? It forces you to like sit with something and be like, oh, maybe there's nuance and perspective and context to this that I am missing without like actually digesting what is being spoken about, you know?
Yeah.
Which is
the
like
good old days when people had
God
to like
forbid.
Yeah, we had to like actually type in their fucking troll rants and mail and get a stamp and put it on there.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, we use email for that kind of thing now, just because. But I would, dude, if I'll need to get a PO box, and if somebody like actually mails me like a rant, I would be fucking stoked, and it's being published, like, you know, one for one, just scanning that shit and putting it in. Because yeah, I guess at that point, like, if you actually hate what they're saying so badly that you want to write something about it, then like this is the type of discourse I want to see, not like F you, like unalive yourself, like in a fucking Instagram comment, you know, like it's just like stupid.
That's exactly what it is just people don't like people don't have enough effort in their hate anymore. You know what I mean? Like, if you have to take that many steps, people are going to stop being mad about something or like, stop and think about it, whatever. But if you really sit with it long enough to get that mad and then like bust out a typewriter and type, that's hate that needs to be read by somebody. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. Reading the old like letters to the editor in old magazines that are like real crazy rants, you're like, man, you're strongly feeling about this, and I appreciate it. I disagree though, to what they said. But anyway, so Glaive magazine, tell me kind of what we're gonna go through with each of these. We're gonna talk about a magazine. We're gonna talk about kind of where it came from, what it started. So talk about Glaive. What is Glaive magazine?
Yeah, I guess so obviously we don't really have a format yet. We're gonna kind of figure this out as we go, how we're gonna analyze each of these pieces. I guess looking like self-reflecting on Glaive as like an artifact separate from being the person who makes it. Glaive tries to talk. So Glaive is trying to be a lifestyle magazine. It's my attempt at creating like a gaming lifestyle magazine. What that means is we're not really publishing necessarily like gaming content for you to game with, although that does exist in the magazine. What we're trying to do is publish articles and you know, submissions and stuff that have to do with our culture and our communities. So And examples, we do a lot of interviews with like really sick people and just talk to them about like how they got into gaming. You know, like kind of the people we pick are also tastemakers and talking about like how they got to where they are, you know, like depending on who they are. You know, we just did $1 billion Clown Farm, who is like an incredible musician. And that's starting to shine through in what he's doing. If you don't know who that is, he's like a really sick YouTuber. I spoke with him and we kind of talk about how music and all that stuff has like led him into what he's doing now and how it interfaces with Warhammer, and just there's a lot of tangential niches that gamers are also involved in, and you might not realize that your tangential niche is the same like hyper focus as other dudes in this space. You know, like everybody loves like punk and hardcore, it feels like everybody loves, you know, obviously crafting DIY is like a big part of what we do in our space, whether it's ttrpgs or, you know, skirmish wargaming and that kind of stuff. So Glaive is my attempt at creating like a physical printed space for us to explore just the lifestyle around what we do. So that's what Glaive is about. You'll see different stuff we talk about is about different aspects of the hobby, but that's what Glaive is trying to do. The other kind of quote unquote mission statement, like guiding light, is trying to put out a high quality, like glossy print mag that you would kind of see at like a newsstand. It's my attempt at not satirizing, but kind of dipping my toe into the glossy print magazine, which I don't think is really, which you'll see actually as we go through some of these other stuff we're talking about, like isn't really a thing in the kind of DIY space. But nowadays it's like not hard to do that. So it was I kind of wanted to just like see, you know, call back to like those magazines that I loved growing up. They weren't, you know, like Xeroxed, you know, printed zines. They were like magazines. So that was also the other thing, was like, can I pull off like an actual glossy print magazine in 2025, 2026? And what does that look like? And how can we like interface with that as a medium, you know?
Yeah, it's dope. It's, you know, one thing you mentioned before that I always thought was incredible was the I mean, you probably know this a bit more. I was also not a big video gamer when I was younger, but the PlayStation ads in the old like gamer magazines and stuff like that, like you don't see anything like that now, where you literally used to have images of like sweaty people putting like tabs of PlayStation buttons on their tongues and shit.
Dude, so like straight up, so, you know, there's advertisers in Glaive. I'm incredibly strict about who I allow to advertise in Glaive, and not just who I allow to advertise, but I actually send them an advertising brief that is full of examples of exactly what you're talking about. Because for me, you know, like I'm talking about in Thrasher, like all those like clothing ads, you know, like of like Spitfire skateboarding ad where they're wearing like the crazy Spitfire shirt with like the flame dude, like, and seeing that ad and seeing like a dude rip like a crazy fucking trick, and in that shirt I knew I needed to buy that shirt, right? And like it's advertising, they're advertising a product to me, but it's also like culture building and world building and establishing like this is how people interact in this space, this is the type of stuff they wear, etc., right? Like I'm talking very romantically about advertising, which I think is kind of lame when I say it like that. But I also think though advertising is such a, like the products we engage with in a culture are, it's important, right? Like the stuff we wear, the products we buy, you know, from like an ethical standpoint, right? And like a moral standpoint, like what do these brands stand for? And do I want to wear their shirt? Does it represent what I stand for? And also like, you know, what we're wearing, we're like walking billboards, right? In both like a negative sense, but also, you know, it's self-expression, it's who we are. When I see you wearing like a really cool like vintage D&D shirt that like I get the joke, it's like, you know, it's like an old maybe third edition logo, like you can tell it was printed back then, it's not like a bootleg, like that says something to people who are in the know, and we like get each other on another level, you know? So I think like the products we engage with, and that's what like, you know, Hothead Collective through Glaive and through other things is trying to also add to that conversation of like the products we engage with, they say something about who we are and what we care about. And so what I was trying to say is I've been having people want to advertise in the magazine. You know, I've been having to turn some people down because I don't think it aligns with what we're trying to do. But the brief that I send them, because I've had a brand send me an advertisement that was incredibly sales pitchy, copy forward, like, look at this new thing, we want you to buy it. And I was like, sorry, like, we need to redo this whole thing. The kind of like line I've been using is like, we want culture forward advertising. And that's what you're describing with like these PlayStation ads where they have like the acid tab that looks like a plus sign or whatever. And you're like, what even are they selling? Right. Because like, that's not the point. Like, the point is that they get you get them. And now you're willing to put your like trust in that brand because you can tell that they speak like the same language. Right. And so that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's like a huge thing that I think was really sick back when print media was alive. People had advertising budgets to do really cool, interesting advertising. It's not really, I mean, it's a thing now, but all that ad money goes to like social media, you know, and you get some cool ad campaigns on social media, but like it gets pushed into weird directions, you know, favoring like specific influencers and just whatever. But trying to bring that back in the magazine too is like really important for me. Let me think if there's like a cool one that I can show in this last issue of like an advertisement that we did. But yeah, I agree 1,000%. Like that's like a big thing that I'm trying to explore with Glaive too, is like, how do we engage with products and advertising in a way that respects both the reader's time, as well as like the community's, you know, time, and all of that is just like, it's a big part of it too, like 100%.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too is even across, I mean, we live in a fucking techno-fascist hellscape, right? Like, and the disrespect for we're all cattle, but like the consumer in general with a lot of what is out there is rampant, right? Like they do not care. It's gotten to the point with everything where it's just like, you're gonna have to buy this anyway, we're gonna make it as shitty as possible and you'll just buy it because you need it, kind of thing. It's a lot of lack of culture and stuff, but that communication you talked about is really important. We talked about it in a very different way here on the show, but like in the way that we even get emails from people. You know, me and Hunter do this in a way where we don't we don't just promote to promote. We're completely non-monetized. We do shit because we think it's cool. And when people send us an email that is literally just a fucking like copy like, hey, here's a Kickstarter, we're trying to make money, that immediately gets deleted. I don't even respond to that kind of stuff because it's about the conversation. It's about the communication. And I think the way that we do the show and that kind of communication speaks a little bit in the way that you want to do Glaive. It's about the communicating, it's about expressing, it's about doing things like that, and wanting to have people that are in the same space as you are, and being able to interact in that same space. And I really like what you said about just expression of even just, the clothes that you wear. Like if someone's rocking, like you said, a dope ass shirt and you see that, it makes sense. So when you're flipping through Glaive and you see, you know, even stuff like the cover of #2, like people are going to get this or they're not going to get it, right? Even if they know what it even is. Because I bet you could show this to like any normie on the street and they will have no fucking clue really what this is or what went into making it and things like that. But if you show this to anybody in our space, they're going to freak out and be like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like,
or even and then, like Glaive #1, right? So the cover is this like crazy bits bin spilled out where they're like going through like all these different bits and Warhammer pieces and stuff, right? If you don't know like what this is, like you don't have any idea what this is, right? I saw somebody talk about it and say, oh look, they're playing with Legos on the cover. That's like, and I'm like, no. But also like this obviously isn't for you. Like, you know, like, but if you get it, you're like, oh shit, like this is, I get it, right? So it's well,
even going so far as like the Mummy VHS, like if you listen to the podcast, that even cracks me the fuck up. So but so Glaive it's a culture magazine. It's about cultures and subcultures surrounding gaming, and that's again, it's really interesting idea, and that's what we talk about a lot on the show, is just the why we need curators and tastemakers and people to get things to get to, because there's, I mean, imagine you picked up a magazine and you're like, holy shit, this is so cool, and you get into a brand new hobby because of it, not because it's trying to sell you something, but because it's trying to communicate culture to you, and it's a culture that you want to be a part of. Like that's great to have this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially because, like, you know, the barrier to entry for writing stuff, like, and putting stuff on the internet is a double-edged sword, right? It's like anybody can create a blog and write what they think and care about, and that democratization of that is really sick. You know, like before, you would have to get published in a magazine or something, right? Or your friend would make a zine, like, even, you know, back in the 90s and 80s and stuff, the zines were a thing, right? But now that it's so easy, you have to wade through, you know, like you don't have to really try to press like enter and publish. And you hope that as somebody who is writing something that cares about a topic, you have some self respect to like write something with passion and vigor, and something that you feel is worth being on the internet. But a lot of stuff I feel like isn't worth being on the internet, right? So like, what's great about something like this is it requires somebody like me to spend money to print, to put in front of you, to, it takes my time to print and get it stocked in your local game store. So that is like a signal to my readers and the people who buy the magazine and stuff that obviously they care enough about what's going to be in there that they're jumping over all these hurdles, right? So that kind of like curating taste making that we keep talking about, that we need those people, because we need to shovel through the shit, right? Like, it's only going to get worse, you know, like it's only going to get worse with, you know, generative AI and all this stuff, that like we're just going to have to shovel deeper and deeper to find the nuggets of true passion and like real conversations taking place. And my hope, and the people who publish their zines and everybody who's doing this kind of stuff, our hope is that we can be like beacons that you can dig to, and you can trust what's being put there is not even like, just trust that it's somebody cares about it, right? And that like what's being published is important to somebody, because sometimes you read some of this stuff and you don't even feel like it's important to the person who wrote it, right? So like, finding stuff that has passion and is important to people that they care about, that's what this is really about, you know?
You know, beacon is such a great way to put it. Beacon, waystone, anything. It's an anchor point where you can find comfort in what is being expressed, and the fact that it's not just you, it's you collecting all of this stuff and putting it out. So when you respect someone enough to put something in the magazine, when someone reads it, they can then take that branch off and to go check out, you know, the Hive Scum podcast like you have in the first one, or $1 Billion Clown Farm. It's this hub that can be trusted as a safe space, kind of, to then be able to branch off from those spaces and, like you said, wade through all of the garbage. You know that these are roads that can be traveled from this spot. And it is nice to have when you have an infinite amount of knowledge out there, but you know, more and more of it is fake and bot driven. Having someone, like you said, someone care and a spot to kind of start from is great to have. Curators, like that's what we need. We need people to curate this, the fucking ocean that is the internet and the space. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, now more than ever. I mean, like almost like a call to arms, right? Like now more than ever, we need curators and people who care about this hobby enough to take the time to really spread the good word, you know, and like find the stuff that's like worth talking about. And yeah, like you're saying, like having those diving boards into these like different niches, you know, like I've had a lot of people, so an issue too. So the magazine's like not just tabletop gaming, right? We talk about like video games and other kind of stuff. I've had a lot of people resonate with an article that I wasn't expecting, that I thought was just sick. But a lot of people have actually been talking to me about how cool they thought the DIY Game Boy article was, where Rory Ratboy Minis on Instagram, he is really into like upgrading old like Game Boys and that kind of stuff. Like he's done a lot of cool little projects there. And so I threw a couple bucks his way to kind of document one of these things where he installs some new mods in an old Game Boy, updates the display, like does some like really nerdy like hacker shit, like really cool, but obviously related to gaming. And I've had a lot of people actually mention this specific article being like, oh dude, I thought the article about, modding a Game Boy was like so sick. And it's just, that's what this is. It's getting people who maybe are really into making minis being like, oh wow, there's this other little thing where people get these like old broken Game Boys. I have one in my closet from when I was a kid. Oh, I didn't realize I could spend like 15 bucks, get a couple parts, and I can spend some time one afternoon like getting a soldering iron, modding my Game Boy and turning it into something I can play now. That's like cool. Something I wasn't really aware of was like happening, which you wouldn't find if you're not like having these kinds of spaces, these these spots that are getting all this together and going like, look, this is cool too, like check this out. So that's like an example in the issue 2 that I felt like was really cool example of that, where people were like, I've never seen this before, this is tight, I want to like explore this more.
Yeah, and that's what's cool. Like, it's not just a tabletop magazine, letting it be a culture magazine, because most people that have kind of a hobby that they care about this much probably have another one. So whether it's video games or music or whatever, it's nice to be able to find the thing that you like and then have other articles about the other things that you like, which is cool. So yeah, so that's Glaive, and that's kind of why we're talking about all of this at all today. It's kind of the intro / talking about Glaive magazine real quick. And we have a long list of stuff, so they're not all going to be all that. But the next one we're going to talk about, start a pile right here, is adjacent-ish, but it is Under the Dice. So, boom.
So I have a history with Under the Dice. So Under the Dice fanzine, I think is Under the Dice, a tabletop and hobby fanzine. It's published by Steve. Steve is Under the Dice. You maybe have heard of Under the Dice Fest, but Steve is one of the hosts of Hive Scum podcast. He runs Under the Dice fanzine, which is like just straight up the dopest, like Xerox, like self-published zine that does what I do in Glaive. Like, it's also very much like also culture forward, like talking to artists and game designers and stuff, and getting into the nitty gritties of what they like and what they're into, and exploring how they play the games at their tables and stuff. But before I put out the first issue of Glaive, I was kind of just getting into the like Inc. 28 scene, which is what Steve is really about and what Hive Scum's really about, which is essentially the DIY underground side of skirmish and like narrative wargaming. It's called Inc. 28. I saw people ask before, it's INQ as in Inquisitor 28, Inc. 28, although it's not a specific game, it's like a movement in that space. So I interview them, Hive Scum, Steve, Gage, and Terry, the Hive Scum podcast. I entered, like you mentioned, in issue 1, but I hadn't met them before, and I was kind of already starting to cook up the ideas of Glaive issue 1. I went to Arcane Con 2 years ago, and I saw Steve there, and I picked up like the only issues he had currently in stock that he was selling. Because Under the Dice fanzine was one of the many dominoes that encouraged me to publish Glaive. What Steve does in these is really, really cool. They're on, is issue 6 their latest one? There's 6 issues?
Yeah, there's 6 issues is the current one out. I think 7's in the works.
Yeah. So yeah, just like a love letter to Steve. That was one of the many things that pushed me to want to even more like to publish Glaive. So without Under the Dice, you don't have Glaive. So this is like a really, really sick, amazing publication. I'll let you talk about it a little bit, but that's my personal kind of story about what Steve puts out here. And shout out Steve, shout out Hive Scum podcast. They're one of the brighter, amazing, beacons, waystones, whatever, in this space that are really encouraging people to look at the way they hobby and the way they engage with, culture and all that kind of stuff just differently. So they're really sick.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I got into, when I went to PAX, not this year, but last year, I ran the World Champ booth because Adam wasn't able to make it, and he sent some people to check on me because the first day Hunter didn't show up. And one of the people he sent was Witty, Widow Goblin, and she's from that area. She knows all the Hivescum people, and for a while she kept saying, "Hey, you should check out the Hivescum podcast." And eventually I did, and enthralled instantaneously. I mean, not only are they just fucking easy to listen to, probably way easier to listen to us, but the stuff that they talk about is a scene that I wish I had had when I was younger. Like, I didn't have, like, my town was 2 streetlights and like 5 churches, and that was it. We didn't have a gaming store. There was nothing around. So it was really cool to hear about the scene, to start digging into the scene. And I found the scene as I was kind of starting to get a little burnt out on the ttrpg space, which is great when you have a ttrpg podcast. And listening to them really revived, my love of tabletop and everything. Just how they feel about it, what they do with it, leading into the narrative, making it more DIY, really just finding what's fun and really pulling that out of it. And the way that they think about games, the way that they think about culture and community and everything is fantastic. And like you said, it is a beacon, obviously. People, I mean, they have the freaking Grimdark Alley at Adepticon. They have all of these events that they're running that just keep getting bigger and bigger. And it's for a reason. It's because it's so obvious that they care so much about what they're doing.
So the Inc. 28 community is so focused on community, acceptance, inclusion. No matter how you do it, it's right and it's cool. We want to hear about it. We care about you. We care about what you're doing. And, compared to some other 3-letter spaces, I think Inc. 28 is partially this incredible of a scene because of Hivescum podcast. Like, I don't want to gas these guys up, although I do want to gas these guys up, but I'm just even thinking about this now. I think those dudes are, and they would never say this, but I think what they do on Hivescum podcast is definitely directly responsible for how accepting and cool the Inc. 28 scene is, that, because I think they really do have such an impact on that space. And when you start getting involved in that community, you join in Rust We Trust is the big Discord that those guys run. Join in Rust We Trust Discord, go hang out with them. I'm telling you, the community building and the care that everybody in that scene has for each other and the hobby and the respect is unlike any scene I've experienced in tabletop game or gaming in general, really. And I am going to say that I think it's like that partially because of the Hivescum podcast and those dudes. When you listen to the podcast, it's 3 dudes hanging out, talking the shit, and you feel like you're the 4th dude hanging out, talking with them, and you feel like they get you. They're like your big brothers. It's a really, really sick podcast.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I mean, part of it, and taking it back to the zines a little bit, I mean, the first, according to what I have is the reprint of the quote-unquote lost issues, issue 1 and issue 2, and then the reprint of 3 before I got the regular ones. And in the beginning, Steve talks about when he first started putting it together was 2016. And it still has, and the zine is all about the community, right? It's about art. It's about tabletop wargaming, obviously, because that's a huge part of it. It's about homebrew rules for stuff. It's music and movies and media. Some of the issues have just random, hey, here's a movie from 1987. Here's my paragraph thoughts on it. It's a really cool little slice of that community. And it's really interesting when you listen to the podcast, and I'm not going to reiterate it all here, but how Under the Dice came about, why Steve started Under the Dice, and how that kind of transitioned towards the Hivescum podcast and all the community that came from it. So not only is it cool where this started and the seed that came from it, but this magazine itself is fucking awesome. I mean, the design work, the logos, I mean, that Under the Dice flame logo is absolutely incredible. But when you get into issue 6 and having, the hobby and tabletop fan zine, like you said, I mean, you can kind of see, it's easy to see when you read Glaive, if you read Under the Dice, how you got inspiration from this. I mean, talking about, Anaplantic and Gardens of Hecate, really digging into the hobby space. And then again, like in the next couple pages, and some of them being able to look at like the Brothers of Prometheum event that they put out. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. So I like I've said a couple times, I interviewed Hivescum in issue 1, and I was finding the part where I actually talked to Steve about how it started. If you want me to read this really quick, it's like a quick little paragraph from Steve about how Under the Dice fanzine started.
Yeah. What page are you
on? Page 32 in Glaive issue 1. Like actual page 32 at the bottom. I don't know what it is. Yeah. So Steve says, I started Under the Dice in 2016. He says, I was still living in my apartment, probably 2016, 2017. I started doing a podcast that was like a one-on-one podcast with friends who were all into the hobby. It was never what I wanted out of it. I wanted what Hivescum is, and it wasn't that. It was so bad that I deleted all the episodes. Then after a year of doing that, I started doing a zine because it was a lot easier to do that format of going over all the cool stuff that I like and getting friends involved. It was a lot easier because it's just, you want to be involved with this? Do you want to write an article? Do you want to do some art? Like whatever. It's just went from there. And then he mentions how that snowballs into a big charity game day event that they do and ends up becoming Under the Dice Fest, which is amazing. But not what we're talking about here right now. We're talking about the zine. But I like how he's just talking about how, he tried the podcast idea. Just him one-on-one with the homies. Didn't really work. It wasn't gelling. He pivots to Under the Dice fanzine, loves that format. It starts to kick off, and then he comes back to the podcast thing and ends up with Hivescum. But so that's just a little from Steve talking about how he started Under the Dice fanzine, which is cool.
And this just goes to show too, if you have an idea and you stick with the idea and you keep pushing, if you go from, you can see the direct through line from the idea of the Under the Dice fanzine in the pod to now, again, Under the Dice Fest is something I wish I would have gone to last year. I will never miss again because it's just everything I hear about it and everyone that goes to it says it's incredible and it's just getting bigger and bigger. So, that all of what they've done in the community could really be taken back to kind of like Steve and his ideas with Under the Dice and with all of that original stuff. And it's really cool to have that. So if you have an idea, the whole point of this is kind of like, if you have an idea and you push and you want to make a zine and you want to be one of those curators and space makers and stuff like that, fucking do it. It's not really, it's probably a huge pain in the ass, but like, if you love it, do it,
And also chase it, like you said, right? Like, if Steve would have tried the podcast idea one-on-one with the homies, doesn't work, hates it, deletes all the episodes, and just stopped, where are we now? We don't have Hivescum podcast. We don't have Under the Dice fanzine. We don't have Under the Dice Fest. And I bet if you look at the branching web of all of the new Arcane Con, like incredible quote unquote copycats, like in a good way, all of these people trying to catch the fire that is Under the Dice Fest and Hivescum, like you don't have any of that like branching out, right? So just because your first iteration like doesn't work doesn't mean you should stop, right? Glaive isn't the first thing. I used to put out like a 5e digital magazine that is scrubbed from the internet because it's not a reflection anymore of anything. But like I tried to do some stuff before too, didn't work. You have to fail a couple times before the thing like really sticks. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to fail a few times, but like I think a lot of it, we're going to see a lot of examples, whether we know them up front or not. I imagine we talk to a lot of these people, they like fail a couple times before they, really pick up on what they're doing, Yeah.
And that's, I'm not even going to branch off into something I was talking about, but that's, important is to keep iterating and find people to do that with, find your space and find your community. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I get from the Hivescale podcast is community. It's the encouragement to be part of one, the encouragement to build one, and to be accepting in one. So yeah, that is Under the Dice. You can grab the links. This is the fucking internet, and you're watching a podcast and or a VOD of this, right? So if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll find the links to all of these, I promise. So I'm not going to talk about most of them as we go through. But trust me, the links to everything will be down there. The next up we're going to talk about is PORTCULLIS. Yep, you have number one. I have son of a bitch. I just have issue 2. I was late to the party on this, which is going to drive me nuts forever. So if you happen to have issue 1 out there in podcast land and you're willing to part with it, you just let me know. But PORTCULLIS is a magazine put out by Ian Mulligan, launched in January of 2025. What's interesting about PORTCULLIS that I really like, especially after we just talked about, it says here, I was inspired to create PORTCULLIS after reading Umbra magazine and Under the Dice fanzine. As influence corporations and commodification seem to have taken over tabletop gaming, I found people who were doing things the old way. They were making what they wanted to see in RPGs and war games and fearlessly sending their ideas out into the world. They took their passion and used it to remind people that we do not need Hasbro or Games Workshop. What makes these games so meaningful and such an integral part of our lives is our own imagination and creativity, things no corporate overlord has control over. So, PORTCULLIS, again, this is a branch, right, from what we just talked about, and they decided to do it and make their own. It is a gaming zine featuring new rules for RPGs and war games, interviews, and more. It currently has 2 issues right now. The first issue has a thrilling new class for Shadow Dark called Dagger Mage. Talks about making MTG proxies, which is, man, the proxy scene is fantastic, and my wallet is too thin anymore to get into it, but it's incredible. And a lot more here in the first zine, and there's the table of contents for you. And in the second one, that you can physically see here right now, an interview with Sean, I'm never going to say it right, Aberg. Like, their art is absolutely incredible. If you haven't played any of their stuff, it's great. But it's another hobby fanzine, magazine. It's incredible. It's got interviews with people. This is exactly what we're talking about with doing what you love, finding your space, curating the space that you want, and doing it the way that you want. And PORTCULLIS is my voice is cracking, is incredible. And you can find it over on Itch. Again, we'll make sure the links are below. But what was your interaction with PORTCULLIS?
Well, real quick. So it's funny, we're talking about the branch, right? So PORTCULLIS issue 1, right? On the back is an Under the Dice ad, right? With the fanzines. Glaive issue 1, there's an Under the Dice ad.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just like, just so blatantly, you know, the branching. Like, it's just so funny that you mention it, and now we just, like, you can just see the handprints just all over everything, the fingerprints.
It's funny I mean, you can kind of see the same thing in a lot of spaces. Like in the ttrpg space, you can see like the hack family trees kind of, you know. And it's really cool. It's really cool as I did the research for this episode, how much you can kind of see the Zine magazine digest family tree, and how much of it really does start with Under the Dice kind of at the top. So
I mean, it shows you how small of a world it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, PORTCULLIS. So I got issue 1 by actually trading a copy of Glaive issue 1 with Ian at Under the Dice Fest. We, like, you know, had connected online, and we were like, finally, like, we got to meet up. The problem with these, like, really sick gaming fests is there's never enough time to see every single person you want to see, because, you know, you want to see somebody and you don't want to just say, hey, give a hug. Like, you want to talk to everybody, and there's, like, never enough time. So it's like, you know, I think I barely met up with him. Like, at the last day, I think that my car was packed. The wife was, like, trying to leave. We were trying to get back to the city. And I was like, I have to run back inside. He's, like, at his booth. Ian's there. We're going to trade. But PORTCULLIS is PORTCULLIS is incredible. It's in that same format. I mean, if you want to talk kind of specs, I guess, if we're going to talk about, like, sizes and stuff with the magazines, it's in that same kind of, like, Xerox, like, printed at your local Staples, that Under the Dice is, which is, like, really sick and should show anybody that they can do it. Like, no color, black and white, probably printed at Staples for, like, dirt cheap. He probably stapled them himself, or I don't know. But like you already said, the contents in here are really sick. The proxy stuff is cool. I think that's, like, another up and coming kind of scene that's getting a lot of love, that is really exciting. More like gaming kind of forward content, but he really, like, does a lot of the fun stuff that I want to explore more with what I do. But there's, like, a crossword puzzle. He's got some of these, like, old school style, like, advertisements that are, you know, like just really old school flavored and fun and like unique. Dude has his finger on like the pulse of the community, and he's, you know, documenting it really beautifully. Portcullis is fantastic. I think Portcullis and Under the Dice like really share the same DNA, like more so than I think a lot of these when we compare them. Like Portcullis, Under the Dice, both are like hand in hand, like sister magazines. I feel like if you have both of them in your hands, you'll feel it both in production and the content. They like really complement each other really well, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, I have Glaive 1 and 2, luckily, thank goodness. But because there is no PDF, right? But I don't have Portcullis number 1, but you can find these online, number 1 and number 2 on the itch. And again, links will be where links are. And that is Portcullis. The next one we're going to talk about is Blaster, which is a really interesting one. Some of the ones that we're doing now are a little bit different, kind of a lean in a different direction. Let me grab
here, but before we jump from there, if we want to kind of talk about, we're talking about print culture. We kind of talked about this a little bit before, but I do have some of these like old like punk and hardcore zines, and I just think it's like relevant to show kind of the similarities in what was happening in these sort of like transgressive, I don't know if that's the right word, but these like subcultures where community was so important back in the day. This is Suburban Voice, this like old punk zine. Inside Out are these other like old punk zines, but this is essentially like the same kind of like Xeroxed print media capturing subcultures that are trying to do stuff against the grain. That is really exciting to see in our hobby, right? Like you have these punk zines where they're, you know, like a lot of these are like vegan, you know, they're like, they're just cultures that are trying to go against the like mainstream. And what you're going to find, yes, exactly, like straight edge, that kind of stuff. And what you're going to find, like, for example, in making MTG proxies in Portcullis, like, we're trying to do the same thing, like fuck overpriced cardboard, right? Like what we're saying, like fuck you too, is obviously far less relevant or like I guess important, quote unquote, than like punk, you know, bands trying to make statements about government and stuff like that, right? Like we're talking about like, you know, big corporations taking over our gaming spaces, which that's like a whole other conversation we get to into how actually important that is with like third spaces and places for us to explore creativity and self-expression. But that's what these are our punk zines, right? Like Suburban Voice, Inside Out, like these old 80s 90s punk zines that were a way for people to find like-minded individuals pre-internet, were these kind of bootleg self-printed DIY zines. That's what Under the Dice is. That's what Portcullis is trying to be. It's saying like, we're trying to go against the norm. We kit bash. We don't need to buy your expensive fucking plastic. We don't need to buy your expensive cardboard. We play the games our way. We don't play your standard format. We play our own format where every card we made out of a pack of fucking playing cards, right? Because like we care about playing games. Obviously you don't, corporation, right? That's like what's being said in these magazines. And so I just quickly wanted to show kind of a parallel to what was happening before and what's obviously a thread for these like DIY Xerox printed gaming magazines. This is the type of stuff that they're channeling because that kind of energy I think is important to continue to foster, right?
Well, I mean, like, you hold up one of those and one of the Under the Dice, and you'll see the DNA. You know, it's
like straight up though. Like, look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's, but you know, still, I mean, whether it's, I mean, it's a different, I mean, the government is a government. The government right now is a little bit different than maybe it was then in a more extreme way. Not that things were happening, but again, not getting too deep into that, but it's still against commodification. It's still against capitalism. I mean, just because the government has become more of just a corporation in and of itself. But yeah, like you said, these are cultural spaces that are accepting of people on the fringes of, you know, normal normie quote unquote society, or the way that society's being dictated towards us now. So it is important, and it's great to see, and it's great to have which is great. And as I find more and more of it, you know, it's liberating, it's inspiring, and it's great to see. So, and again, that's one of the reasons that we're talking about this stuff today is more people should be reading these things, buying these things, and participating in this culture. So
yeah. Sorry, so I want to say that before we get into Blaster, because Blaster is like a whole other thing,
yeah.
which is really sick. I'm pretty sure it's like only printed hardback, right? Like it's like a book when you buy
Blaster?
it physically.
No, they're
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I couldn't, but do they have a hardback? Am I crazy? I feel like I might have seen a
28 has a hardback, but I haven't seen a hardback of Blaster. I've only seen the paperbacks. So
cool.
Speaking of Blaster, this is Blaster magazine. I'll show this a little bit. Let me hide. Let me bring this back. So this is Blaster. A bunch of these are still in plastic because I read them and then put them back in the plastic. Because let me tell you what, they're not cheap anymore. But the original 4 Blaster. So Blaster is edited by Gregory Horton. Originally launched in 2020. It is a collaborative game development environment for miniature game visionaries, is what they say on the website. Gregory Horton, I think later went on to start Electi Studio. And from issue 5 on, they were actually published by Electi Studio versus, even though it's like the same kind of people, it's just a little bit different branding. But you can see that they're all still, you know, the same kind of the thing. The first 4 were anthology magazines. So, for example, this first one here, when you flip into it, volume 1 is got stuff for Gaslands from Mike Hutchinson. It's got stuff for Last Days from Ash Barker. It's got like I think there's some Relic Blade stuff in here as well. So it's a lot of content, quote unquote, for different games, which is interesting compared to what we have been talking about. So it's still in the tabletop space, but the first couple we talked about leaned more into kind of like the cultural aspect of it, of the kind of subculture at large. Blaster is definitely a game magazine. Again, the first 4 were anthologies, and then starting with number 5, they switched to just doing 1 game per magazine. So number 5 was Dead by Lead, and then there was like a little zine that you could get with it as 2 called Rival Guns, which was additional stuff for it. But from then on, it's been 1 game per magazine. These, I think, from 5 on might have been on Kickstarter, but I know right now, if you from 5 on, there is a Kickstarter that has a page up for 5, 6, 7, and 8 that is supposed to launch sometime this year. So when 8 comes out, you'll be able to get 5 on. But good luck finding 1 through 4. That was fun on eBay. But so that's what Blaster magazine is. This is actually a game magazine full of game content and new games. And then the Electi Studios, kind of the where that comes from, puts out games, and their purpose, what they say on the website, is basically what they want to do is encourage these new designers, these new creators to really be able to latch onto these games and find these cool ideas and really bring them to life, which is a cool thing to see. I mean, you know, Dellen worked on one of their games, which is Eternal, which is something they put out with on top of Dead by Lead and things like that. So, and if you've ever seen Eternal Zine, I know Dellen doesn't talk about it a lot, but the layout in that, the guy apparently only puts out insane looking zines, but.
And Dellen, aka White Tiger Tablecraft, aka Cauldron, right?
Yeah,
super sick. I think like providing this type of space for game designers is really encouraging to game designers. It's far more exciting to, you know, make a supplement for something like this than it is to just like put your supplement on Itch. Like, you know, Itch is sick. Not to say anything bad about Itch. Like I love Itch. I think what it's doing is really cool. Like you can just post stuff on there. It's really great. But having like a physical space to see your writing, your game design in print is really amazing. I think their kind of mission statement of providing an environment for game designers to explore is like really dope. It's really cool. It reminds me what's happening here is kind of a distillation of what was happening like in old White Dwarfs, where, for example, you know, like we wouldn't have Kill Team without an old like Warhammer hack that was in an old issue of White Dwarf. It like ended up being developed and turned into Kill Team, which is like, you know, popular way to play Warhammer today. So like these types of spaces where you give game designers freedom to explore and new ideas and kind of go up against in ways that maybe they wouldn't have normally is really important. And it's just cooler than doing it on itch by yourself, like getting everybody together. And you know, like we said before, like having it in this format is a stamp of approval from Electi Studios saying this is dope, you should check it out, right?
Well, and then even when you go through some of the stuff, I mean, just going through Blast number 1, I mean, I think pretty much everyone in the space knows like Relic Blade. I mean, definitely knows Mike Hutchinson between Gaslands and
Right.
like Hobgoblin and things like that.
Yeah.
You're not just like putting something out with some people either that too, like these are clearly people who know what the fuck they're doing and put out an incredible, like this is such a high quality publication, not just in the content that comes out, but the quality of it as well. The zine looks incredible. Like it's incredibly well edited. It's incredibly well put together. And there's a lot of amazing people putting out stuff in it. So like if you actually get selected to have your game in one of these, and you literally have an entire magazine put together by these people about your game, that's incredible. So it's really cool. It's great to see something that it's kind of the opposite of what we were talking about a little bit, but the fact that they there are people that are doing what we're talking about but have the resources and the experience and things like that to take it to another level is really cool. So these are really incredible. And again, I'll put the link to the Kickstarter page down there. But at some point it will launch and you'll be able to get 5 through 8 on the Kickstarter, which is really cool, which again is all of like the individual game scenes.
And I mean, Electi Studios is still very much like an independent studio, you know, like they're just doing stuff that they love. So it's not, it's, they're just making it look real pretty, which is also really sick, you know, especially for a game designer who can't afford to make stuff look real pretty, you know? So it's cool. And like you're saying, there's just heavy hitters in there, like people that are shaping the gaming like space that you're currently existing in are people like Mike Hutchinson. So it's like, you're only going to get good shit out of Blaster, obviously.
Absolutely. I've been meaning to show websites as we went along and I completely forgot. So I guess we'll start doing it from now. But the next one we're going to talk about, I have the physical of this. This is 28 mag. So what I'm showing off here is called 28 Collected. But most people in this space know what's going on with this. But 28 mag is a let me actually bring up what I was talking about before. 28 mag is a website. It's 28-mag.com. It is a digital magazine that started in 2019, and it is about tabletop gaming, miniatures, role-playing games, art, just the Inc. 28 space in general. That's been going on for quite a while. I know we touched on it a little bit, but for those kind of like, I guess, less in the know, Inc. 28 grew out of, is a community, a culture, a movement that grew out from the game Inquisitor, which was an interesting Warhammer skirmish game, 54 millimeters, that really leaned, like really straddled the line between skirmish and tabletop role-playing game. It had a GM. I love the way that they do narrative actions. Anyway, the game fucks. It's really cool. But it's 54 millimeter, which is crazy. And the minis that came out were like metal and 54 millimeter metal minis, and you had like a very small group. So people wanted to play it, and they decided to play it with 28 millimeter minis. They just adapted it. And the process of hacking and adapting Inquisitor down to 28 and the number of different rule sets, it kind of came from that, because some people hacked the rules directly. Some people used like Necromunda as like a base for doing Inc. 28. Some people did completely new stuff for it, but it's the culture of kind of hacking the Inquisitor game down to 28 millimeters that really grew Inc. 28 out into what it is, and the kit action that came with it, the skirmish game hacks that came from it, and the kind of indie skirmish game hacks and new stuff that grew from that group of people that were doing that is really what grew out into the Inc. 28 scene. And 28 mag since 2019 has been kind of collecting a lot of that stuff and putting it together online. There's 6 volumes for it right now online that you can find, and showing the covers for them right now on stream. They're gorgeous. They're incredible. And they're full of some just insane content. Like it's they're beautiful, and on top of that, not only are they free, much more beyond the magazine itself, people put more things out onto the 28 mag website. So beyond 28 mag, there's lead rot, there is Aetherpunk 28, there's a bunch of different things for it on 28 mag. So this has been kind of a focal point for the 28 community in art and design and things like that for quite a while. And then in 2024, they reached out to Dave Taylor, who has been putting out a lot of incredible tabletop gaming or tabletop miniatures kind of magazines for a really long time. And they decided to collect the first 6 volumes and have Dave Taylor put it together into this big tome here called 28 Collected. And it's just an insane resource of the 28 community.
It's essentially the Bible of Ink 28. Like it's every relevant blog post, article, like painting guide, like anything you could ever need involved in the Ink 28 space is in this like tome.
Yeah. And so I was very happy. This is one of those thank you past Ryan kind of things, because I had just kind of started getting into the space a little bit and saw this on Kickstarter, and I was like, it's not really expensive. Like I'll grab it, and as I kind of get more into it, at least I'll have it. And then by the time it actually got to me, I had become obsessed with the scene, and I was like, oh, thank you past Ryan for grabbing this. It's incredible. So it's
kind of to Ink 28 what Knock is to the OSR, right? Where like Knock takes like all of these like the big writers and designers in the OSR and get them all into one collected space and print it, where this is all of the big painters, kit bashers, designers, writers, opinionated people in the Ink 28 space all come together in this big, bountiful, beautiful hardcover glossy book. But like, just to be clear, like you mentioned before, it's a digital magazine that is available for free on their website. Like you don't need to buy this big, beautiful tome. Like just go to the website and start clicking through. It is really like the best jumping off point if you're like wanting to get into Ink 28. Go to 28 mag, pull up at the first digital issue, open up Spotify, turn on Hive Scum Podcast episode 1, and then just like get lost, and you'll wake up, like way cooler than you were when you dissociated.
For sure. I mean, like you said, one of the early, like page 12 on volume 1 is what is Ink 28. And also what is AOS 28, which is really, really cool too. The kind of like Dark Age of Sigmar stuff is also a really interesting scene that when my pendulum swings back into fantasy is something I'm going to dig a little deeper into. Yeah. But I've had questions even on Discord and stuff when I brought up Ink 28, like what is Ink 28? Like they didn't realize it was a Q, not a K. And I was like, there's a free magazine right now that'll tell you exactly what it is. And the people doing it are some of the most insane people in the space, with some of the most insane artists and writers in the space. So if you want to know, go look at it right now, free.
Yeah. Also, Ink 28, you said it's a game, an old game that people hacked and developed into a community. That sounds really familiar. I'm trying to think of another scene that started like that.
Yeah, but this one.
It's interesting how differently they can evolve.
It's really interesting how different that they came about to be where they currently are as well too.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna get.
Sorry, whenever I get a chance to throw shade, we just mix it in there. But I
would say the Ink 28 community is a very healthy space to currently be in right now.
Very healthy, incredibly.
Which must be nice. Yeah. But yeah, so that's Ink 28. That is 28 mag. That is 28 collected. It is a resource. It is a place to go for everything about the community, especially when you're digging into like the painting, the kit bashing, the DIY, and kind of like the culture of the painting, the kit bashing as well.
Yeah, totally.
Which is
like guides, like sick guides on how to paint and do stuff like the grimdark way. Like. It's all just they just spill their guts out for you in those magazines. It's like everything you'd ever need for free. It's insane.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I'm glad that it did so well on Kickstarter because I mean, it is, for the amount of work that goes into this is insane. So actually getting to, I don't know, I guess, I mean, you don't do it because you want an ROI, but like it's probably nice to have a little bit of something, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Next one is, we're almost done with the magazine size book. This one is flip to number 1. We're going to talk about weird science. Weird science. So this is Weird Science. This is put out by John Power Jr., who's the editor of it. It launched in 2021. It is a magazine that covers tabletop games, their culture, and how they influence and are influenced by the world around us. A lot of this is copied directly from the website because these are... What's crazy about these guys is they, not just these guys, but a lot of these magazine people in general, is they write. They're writers. So their copy is actually good, which is really nice. They know how to promote their own things. They've covered everything from the graphic design and art of Merkborg, the politics of board games, the literary roots of Ravenloft, to the hauntology of early Warhammer. A lot of the Warhammer stuff that they've done is some of my favorite things, but there's currently 7 issues. The last one, I gotta say, the cover and the pink binding and everything, I do love issue 7. It's incredible. Issue 6 is also really great. I don't know why I just showed you issue 0. But this...
Do you know how frequently they release them?
I think it's supposed to be, let's look at the website because it's on there, and I brought it up. I mean, I think it changes based on kind of like the world, and things like that. What this is what I want.
Is it like biannually or quarterly?
I think they try to get towards biannually, because I can tell you right now that the first issue came out in doesn't say on the inside. 2021.
Yeah,
and we're on issue 7 in 2026, so slightly less than biannually. I think that might be the goal, but about 1 a year is what it seems to be. I know there's some delay between them. Let me pull up one of these issues here. I do have a PDF. I grabbed issue 2. So go away here. But you know, if you look at the cover of issue 2, you can see that they definitely went with a kind of like an AD&D vibe on the cover. It's got that ribbon across the side that says expert rules, which is great. And then getting into the magazine itself, big list of contributors. So I picked issue 2 because it looks more like kind of the rest of the issues. Issue 1, the pages were all the pages were all kind of different colors, but since then they've all mostly gone to white. But this is kind of the basic layout that most of them come from now. They have contributors, the table of contents, and then just some incredible stuff in these. So going through kind of all of the variety of things that Weird Science does, which is one of the things that I love most about it, is it's not a small magazine. I mean, they're upwards of 100 pages for each of them, and they pack a lot of stuff into it. So you're talking about the articles here. You got Words Against Wizardry. Peter Bebergal casts his mind back to 1981. Talking about Tom Malbay stuff. If you haven't read any Peter Bebergal, he put out the Appendix N kind of collection of the Appendix N writers. That's really incredible. Violence is Easy, Romance is Hard is an article. Hammer's Ready, Prepare to Smash. John Power Rides the Lightning with Cubicle 7's Emmett Byrne and Chat Soulbound. I mean, they cover everything from old school D&D to Warhammer, which is interesting that they cover Warhammer. What I, in my head, think more is that ttrpg magazine covers more Warhammer than almost anything on this list. Including, you know, some of the skirmish magazines, but that's kind of...
There's an article about Mordheim I saw. It's Streets of Rage, I think. Heads back to the cursed streets of Mordheim and finds them surprisingly busy. This is like what happens when a magazine has like funding and actually is professional. It's so sick. Like they're talking to like industry experts, like people actually in the scene, like all the way up to people like at Cubicle 7 who are like, you know, these are like bigger publishing houses that are putting out more like quote unquote mainstream stuff, and they're really getting in there and like talking to these people and giving you a glimpse into this side of it that, you know, is like really valuable information.
I mean, there's I think it might be issue 6, but they have an interview with Dan Abnett in it. which if you read anything from maybe it's 7, I think it's 6. If you read anything from the Black Library, you know who Dan Abnett is, considering he's he is one of the 2 best writers in all of Games Workshop and the Black Library, along with Aaron Dembski-Bowden, in my opinion, but also I'm going to say that's objective.
I mean, look at Time Slip, page 112. Games Workshop co-founder Ian Livingston takes us back to when he first met Gary Gygax. Like, where are you gonna get that information? Like, that's crazy.
I mean, even when you look at issue 1, I didn't bring in the PDF for that, but session 0, issue 1, you got freaking Kieran Gillen right here on the inside cover. I mean, the access that this magazine has is insane. And follow Weird Science on Blue Sky and follow John Power as well. And it's like there is no reason not to go to this website and subscribe to the magazine, because you can just get a subscription for it and it will just show up. That's what happened with number 6 and 7 for me. But this is, I don't want to, it's a little bit different than kind of what you do with Glaive, in that it's not leaning necessarily into the subcultures as much as leaning into the specific culture of the tabletop space, but really delving into the tabletop space and talking to people that were there doing the thing, which I really love about it.
I mean, dare I say mainstream, not in a negative way, but this is obviously like far more geared towards, like the pillars of these like hobbies, like, and like the pillar, like the biggest of the big, talking to those people that you would like die talking to, because they've made some of the greatest games that have influenced our tiny little subculture games that we care about. These are like the big hitters, which is just like insane to see, like you said, the access that they have to the people who have created some of the most memorable games of all time, is like insane.
And then the magazine itself looks fantastic. I mean, the layout that they have throughout the entire thing is incredible. And then the interviews are great. Like, it's not, I don't know, you can read sometimes and it's just like, it's the same kind of series of questions for people. Like, I really love that with a lot of what they do, they really break down and get deep into like what people actually want to hear from the people that they're actually talking to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. And again, it looks great. Like, it looks like a magazine, which is kind of weird to say. Like, this isn't a zine. This is a extraordinarily professional magazine, production, quality magazine that is put out. And it's every single issue is fantastic. It's peak all the way through. So that is Weird Science.
Yeah. Even just looking at you scroll through this, I'm like, I need to pick up some copies.
They're gorgeous. Definitely go pick up some copies. I put them out of order and that's going to drive me nuts later, but I'll put those away for right now. But yeah, there's 7 issues. I'm sure you can get almost all of them still. But that is the last of our magazine sized kind of publications. Everything else that we're going to be talking about is going to be zine sized or digest sized, because there is a little bit of a difference. So let me grab the next ones. So we've talked about these on the show before, but this is Red Solstice. Let me hide this. So do you know Red Solstice?
Yes, I do, because I hang out in the Thinking Adventures Discord.
Oh, look at you. You're one of those. Yeah. So Red Solstice is put out by Stella Condre. It was launched in 2022. It is a biannual released on the solstices. Red Solstice. See, it's that. It's when the name comes up.
We need to base our lives around more esoteric shit, honestly. Like,
you mean like we used to?
Yeah. Like, just put shit out, on the solstice, like for no other reason than just because, like, why not? I love it. Yeah.
The things are aligned and the days are long or short, or it's great. But this is a zine of advice, adventures, tables, and best practices. All the content is usable in games, and there's kind of 2 rules for it. The 3 rules for it: 1, it has to all be usable in games. 2, no whole games, and 3, no cops. So I mean, can't really ask for much more than that. But they have mostly been coming out consistently for a while. I know there was some delay between some of the issues. That's why you'll get some differences in the releases. But Stella's been on the show. We had her on for an interview not that long ago, I don't think, which is crazy because she's actually been part of the show for much longer as a guest doing APs with us for quite a while. But so, you know, I'll make sure to, I won't remember, but I could link the episode that she was on, but scroll back a little bit and find it. But Red Solstice is just a great magazine that she lays out and curates of stuff of, like I said, it's all usable content in games, a lot of really great adventures, a lot of really great tables. Did I not download one? Okay, I'll flip through. But it has, for example, Christian Kessler's in here, Jarrett Crater is in here, Luke Gearing's in here, Inel Morrison, who wrote Print Weaver that we recently talked about, is in here. I mean, Thriftomancer. So a lot of the people that, if you're kind of in the know of the space, you're aware of, and the stuff that they put out is really fantastic.
It's the TA, it's not Thinking Adventure like TA crew, which like we don't need to get into, but if you know, you know, like it's that Luke Gearing kind of bubble that's like really sick, and some of the cooler stuff happening like in TTRPGs in my opinion. But yeah, and this is definitely very much a TTRPG magazine. I know we've kind of crossed the border with some of them, or specifically talked about a lot of the skirmish kind of war game community stuff, but this is definitely specifically a TTRPG magazine full of content for games that kind of lean into the 3-letter space a bit. But again, like every single one of these is just jam-packed with some incredible content and a lot. And the fact that every single bit of it is usable to me is what's so incredible, because you could just literally pick one and be like, we're playing something out of this, let's just do it. And you're going to get that from any one of these. And I love that. Can you flip through one? I can't tell if you flipped through one yet. I don't like the inside. I want to see what some of the layout looks like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can download one real quick on my Dropbox, but Stella does a layout. Even, so if you know Stella and you know Stella's layout, you can tell. But
nice. Yeah.
So, and then obviously Jarrett does the layout. But one of the favorite things that I love too also is the different thing in the beginning. So this magazine is dedicated to the brave psionic warriors of PORTCULLIS 5, and then we can go to a later one, which is really fantastic. And this magazine is dedicated to the thousands of human organs found orbiting an exoplanet. Like it's so funny. And if you know Stella, like it's just so it's so funny. But yeah, extremely fantastic, creative, interesting stuff, directly usable for games. And that's one of my favorite parts of it, is that there's nothing in here that's, it's all stuff. It's all stuff that you can immediately use. And that's really great. So that is Red Solstice.
It's in that vein of Blaster, right? It's like Blaster, but maybe a bit more chewed up and punky.
Yeah. And it definitely does lean kind of adventure and table heavy for sure.
Right.
But
which is like that's a big point of that scene that Red Solstice is kind of putting a magnifying glass against too, is like, we're cut the bullshit, we're playing, give me all the stuff I need to play the game, cut out all the rest, which is like cool.
Yeah. And if that's what you want, if you just want stuff that's usable for it, you know, that's exactly what you want to grab. The next one I got is we have BOSSFIGHT. This is from Steven Zeich, aka Big Boy Game Time. We've been talking about Big Boy Game Time a lot here on the show recently because they did the layout for Cauldron, which we
super sick. That's why you've been talking about it.
Yeah, well, yes, cool. that is part of it. Yes, he is cool. The stuff he makes is fantastic. And the zine itself is also gorgeous because, I mean, Cauldron is a stunningly beautiful book because Steve did the layout for it, and this is the zine that he put out for it. So BOSSFIGHT launched in February of 2025. That was the first one. It says so right there, February 2025. It is a perzine, which is a new word that I discovered because of Steven, and now I want to use it for a lot of things. It is a personal zine that focuses on boss fights with thematically linked big bads in each issue, as well as interviews, game reviews, homebrews, and featurettes. It currently has 2 issues right now. I can scroll to... I got the PDFs of these because those are available. Boom. Boss Fight number 1, the Bang with a Bang edition. So... this has stuff for Scrap, Mech 28, Flames, Merkborg, and Bloodwork. Bloodwork is a game that Big Boy Game Time put out. Interviews with miscasts, some paperwork stuff, papercraft things, and then Ductwork. It says no clear coat helps you to play as an HVAC control tech. So a lot of really cool stuff throughout this. On top of the fact that I don't even care if the words say anything at this point. Just looking at it is gorgeous, and then obviously on top of it, like, it's writing as well. But Steve's layout is in my opinion some of the best layout in all of tabletop right now. It is
hands down.
I don't even know how to describe what it is, but the mix of like collage and textures and then that little bit of God, what's the name of that orange book? You know what I'm talking about? But like the grid design mixed in with like the collage and textures is
you mean
incredible.
he mixes like kind of Swedish design,
that classic grid. Yeah,
I agree. I think like hands down, Big Boy Game Time, like he's the sickest graphic designer like in the space, like bar none. Like no comparison. And like he calls it a zine, right? Like a personal zine, which is you can feel it like when you flip through. This is like a very personal artifact. I think like these are kind of him distilled on paper, you know, because it's like him and his friends, like he's interviewing his friends. He interviews Miscast in this first one, who's like a YouTuber, but a good friend of his, you know, No Clear Coat is a good friend. Like this really feels personal in my opinion. Like when I flip through it, I'm like, I can feel that this is like, which I get why he calls it a zine and not just like a hobby zine, right? It feels like him really putting himself out there through his love of the hobby and through his love of his friends and stuff. It is a really special artifact. I think both of these are like really special.
Yeah, it's incredible because I mean, it's a zine, right? So it's personal, and he just happens to be friends with some of the coolest fucking people in this space, which is incredible. If I could just happen to be friends with someone like Miscast, and get my personal experience distilled into my zine, that would be cool as shit. But I mean, if I was as cool as Steven, maybe. But but yeah, I mean, what's cool too is like there's Flames of Orion has been playable for a while. It's the game that Steve Hupfer from Hive Scum and we already talked about Under the Dice put out. But there was like boss fight stuff in this for Flames of Orion before Flames of Orion was like funded on Kickstarter, which is really cool.
Right.
But it's again, it's gorgeous all the way through, and I really like the mix of the focus being on boss fights. Like, it's with a lot of the zines, I love how they are kind of a mix of everything, right? Like if you look at Glaive or if you look at Under the Dice, it's this mix of what's cool, what's interesting in the space. I do like that the focus of these is going to have a very specific through line, and then some more stuff kind of tagged onto it, where if you get this, you know that you're going to get boss fights for cool games every single issue. And then you're going to get interviews, and you're going to get new, kind of stuff every now and then, or, this conversation with Miscast and things like that. And I really like that central focus as kind of a way to start each one, because you're always going to have that kind of centralized focus throughout, which is neat.
Yeah. Although I think in the next issue, I think it's boss fight with no boss fights. but I do completely agree with you though.
Hey, well then at least that's still the central focus in that we're going to not have them this time.
But not having them is you have to have them to be able to flip the script, on issue 3, which is like sick. But
that's funny.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of I haven't heard anything about number 3. I've just been seeing a lot of Steve's. We've already talked about them, Magic the Gathering proxies that have been hitting the,
oh my god,
Instagram.
And like Pokemon proxies, like bro is like fuck your Magic the Gathering proxy, I'm about to like proxy some Pokemon cards, which was like so sick. Yeah, dude, like the proxies are like, oh my god. Obviously we both have like big fat hobby crushes on Steven, because like the stuff he makes is just so amazing. It's
incredible.
Good.
It's like, I don't even know how to describe it, where you're just like,
he makes me
find
mad.
someone. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, why do I like love this guy and hate this guy?
Because like I doing my stuff in Glaive, and then I look over and I see what he's doing, and I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, can I just live my life? Like, why do you have to do this to me?
It's so funny because that's what was like churning through my head. I was like, how do I say this at the same time? Where I'm just like, how is not only the layout so fucking incredible, but what's also the writing in it is so funny and so good and so incredible as well. Like those are the people that get me. And I've said this before. It's like artists that are also writers, go fuck yourself, because that's not fair. Like the rest of us have to
pick a lane, brother. Pick a lane.
You can't be this cool at everything. But Steven is just one of those people who, I mean, honestly, like without flipping a single page, tell me if you saw these two covers, you wouldn't just pick this up and go home with it. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous what Steven was able to do with this, on top of, again, the incredible writing, the mix of people that are all the way through it too. Because like issue 1 is great. Issue 2 is like twice as big and is full of so much more stuff. And the boss fights that they have for it, like the interviews that they do for it, is just really incredible. But Rat King is a game I want to play so fucking bad and haven't got a chance to yet. But they have a bunch of stuff in here with Rat King and interviews with the creator. So anyway, yes, grab these. You can get this on Big Boy Game Time's itch. Just Google itch Big Boy Game Time and you'll find it. Also, the links will be where links are on the internet once this issue goes out, this VOD goes out. That is Boss Fight. Next, we're going to be talking about what's the next one? We're heading towards the end. We only got a couple left.
Sick.
Oh, here we go. International Players Review.
Very sick.
Boom. Love these. These are from Golden Achiever. Let me bring up one of them here. So looking at them real quick, these are International Players Review. These from Golden Achiever, they are a guide to the ever-expanding realms of fantasy and sci-fi adventure gaming. Each issue delivers monsters, unruly ideas, and conversations with the designers who push the hobby forward. This really leans hard into, it's pretty much just a tabletop role-playing game zine. Again, some of these cross over a little bit, but this one is really about that. One of the things, aside from the content, we'll go over in a little bit, looking at them, one of my favorite parts is how, especially cover-wise, there is no like style guide. This definitely is meant to kind of mimic older publications and really bring that nostalgic vibe back. And every single one is with a completely different style of zine that if you've been in the zine space for a while, you can see going throughout. The first one has more of like the art focus on it. The second one literally has like the intro on the front. Even going as far as to having like the issue numbers and stuff on it, or like the cost on it, which is not like, this one says that it's $4.99. This one says that it's 50 cents. It's the artistic premise throughout the entire thing is really to mimic the zines of the time, as almost as if they are like diegetic, you know what I mean? Like they're meant to look like they did then, which is fantastic. And I love that everyone,
they do an amazing job too.
Yeah,
like they nail it. Like these look like 1-for-1s, you know, like it's incredible, the graphic design, the way they do it. Yeah
Golden Achievers work throughout all of the graphic design and stuff that they do, layout, everything is incredible. One of the other things I really love about it is the ads in the beginning are fantastic, because I mean, from experience, let me go back to the camera here for a second. I should have just downloaded number 2. You see that ad right there? It says listen to the Weekly Scroll radio show. Like they literally did this whole like radio show ad with like the fonts and everything's for it for us here at the Weekly Scroll. Golden Achiever is a friend and a friend of the show, and they reached out to me at one point. We're like, hey, I'm doing this magazine, which is fucking awesome. They didn't say that, I said that. But they're like, hey, would love to do an ad for the show. Like, didn't, like, not because they wanted it, not because it cost something. I didn't pay them for anything. They're just like, I love the show. It's really great. I'd love to put an ad for it in the magazine just because I think it's cool and I can promote it in the magazine, which is great. So I can only assume probably that like most of the ads throughout all of these are the same way. That they're just meant to promote the work of people that they like. And whose work they enjoy, because if you flip through these, I mean, you're going to see ads for, I mean, obviously Space Penguin all the way through, because I know Golden Achiever does work with Space Penguin. But going into number 2, you see Tacticians of Alm, which is Christian Meatcastle. You see, I think Tony Tran is in one of these. Yeah, right here. You got Kat Kirsch in here. You got Copper State Games in here. So it's really cool. Not only that the magazines are fantastic, but they're using that platform as a platform to like promote their friends and people that they like in the space, but also still doing the ads as if they're like diegetic ads within the space, which is really neat and interesting. I mean, Magnum Galaxy Games, a lot of stuff in Mothership, and more Cat Kirsch. So I don't know. I really love them. I think they're incredible. And like it says here, they're an ever-expanding guide to the universe. The first one clearly leans fantasy, but then number 4 has that gorgeous like sci-fi cover. It literally says science fiction special on the front. And one of my favorite parts of this one is the space insult generator in the back. So you can have adjective, target, slam. So it might be conduit, clogging, fuel sucker, whose brain is running on expired MREs. So you know, funny. Really, really fantastic. So these are all available digitally, and they were digital for quite a while, but it was just recently that I think it's Magnum Galaxy. I could be wrong, and if I am, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure they published them, put out a backer kit campaign, and got those all done up, which is cool because they I think they arrived like a month after the campaign ended, which was a really fantastic turnaround. I actually like kept pushing this episode off a little bit, talking to CJ to be like, I really hope these get here in time. So that's part of it. But just quick flipping through the first episode, the first one here, going through just a table of content. So you got new monsters, you got rolling identities for villains, vigilantes, and Spawn of Fashawn. You got even more monsters, the mailbox, and then an adventure in the back. So that's kind of stuff that you can expect throughout the entire thing. But even like the intro to it says, with love, Milton Bond, I think it is, which is definitely not Golden Achiever. So the fact that they even have like a fake editor in it is crazy. And also funny. When I backed the Kickstarter, I got this, which means I'm a certified player, baby. It is a card. It says International Players Review Certified Player, and it's got name, alignment, and the date valid until
so sick.
Yeah, 12/2/2026. Or I think they're American because it could be 2/12, but yeah, and then there is a dungeon on the back, which is really fantastic. But for at least a year, I get to be a certified player.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So that is International Players Review. Just an incredible mix of stuff, content, adventures, tables, things like that for ttrpgs that look incredible, that are extremely well done, that you can get on the Golden Achiever itch page. And I don't know what's going to go into physicals. I assume maybe every like couple, hopefully they'll put out physicals. But again, these are gorgeous and stunning, and I love that everyone, different color, different vibe, different style every single time. So that is International Players Review.
So good.
Oh yeah. I know we got a big list of stuff here.
No, I'm soaking in because if you look at like old, like what they're referencing, it's like they're spot on. Like they nail it. Like those little quarter page ads are like so good. It's so funny.
They're great. Yeah. Next one we got is Fringe. So Fringe is one that is much newer to me. So I definitely know less about this than a lot of the other ones, but Fringe is a community of indie wargamers, artists, hobbyists, and degenerates, that word's not mine, looking to make the wargaming hobby more fun and friendly for everyone, making weird and wacky models along the way.
We're back in that Inc. 28 space with these guys. Yeah,
for sure. So through their annual Fringe event alongside Salute, Europe's largest wargaming show, they celebrate the hobby and strengthen ties between local, national, and international communities. So they are a community of artists, creators, makers. Their word specifically, their zine is a celebration of miniatures, games, art, and pseudo hyper intellectual ravings, nestled between pretty pictures of models. Fuck you if you don't buy it. That is a direct quote from the Department of Wargaming website. And I don't disagree. It's really interesting. It definitely, to me, lends way more into the art and obviously kind of like that intellectual space. I mean, going so far as the first two articles in Fringe 1 and Fringe 2, I should have looked up what this meant, but it's Latin. I'm not even going to try to say it. But one of them, is it the first one? This is issue 2. I don't have issue 1. If you have Fringe issue 1 in print, reach out. Let me know if you're willing to part with it. But this one talks about the Invincible Summer and Camus and how it relates to like the hobby and everything that we're experiencing right now in the world. And issue 1, the first article under the same title, was about Nietzsche and burnout. So
yeah,
if that doesn't tell you,
they kind of wax poetic in Fringe. Like it's I was flipping through issue 2 the other day as well, in preparation for this, because I had heard of Fringe before. They're based in the UK. They're based in London, as a community, right, and doing really cool events and stuff. So I hadn't realized, or maybe I did, and it just slipped my mind, that they actually put out like a zine. And I was looking through it, and yeah, like their articles are like actually quite like poetic. Quite, they really like get into, you know, like gaming as art form, gaming as like resistance, gaming as like philosophical work. Like they get really into parts of it that I love. I think it's super sick. None of the other ones I think really like get into it that much, which must be just like a product of the people who at Fringe like you really pour a lot into this. But yeah, I was like, we're getting deep here, which is cool.
yeah, no, that's the thing that stuck out to me the most right off the bat too, was how kind of philosophical and existential they get with a lot of what they're writing. Like it's definitely headier. Like it's the hobby space.
Yeah.
And I think because we can get into all day about game design and if it's art or not, but I think they're specifically talking about like the art aspect of it and the art aspect of it in kind of like the hobby and wargaming space, and also the zines themselves are packed full of art. Like I think between almost every article there is either photography of miniature painting or paintings or things like that. So it's definitely leans to me as if this feels much more like an artist community in the space than like the gamer side of it, which I think is really, really interesting. You get that a lot kind of in 28 mag when you're talking about like the model makers and things like this, but I think this one definitely leans more into that specific kind of subculture. I don't want to say the artsy, I mean, yeah, the artsy side of it, the philosophical side of it, the poetic side of it.
It's like the side of it where you're like, I'm making this kit bash because it represents like a reflection on myself, you know, or like I'm painting it this way and we're running this game because it's an exploration of aspects of my psyche, or like, you know, which sound like you said, can sound heady in like a bad way. But I think, you know, what we're doing when we game, especially the games that we play and like tabletop role-playing games, whether you want to or not, is an exploration of who you are and like fantasies, good and bad, that are swimming up in our heads. So like, you know, it can feel like we're, you know, this is like what we're just playing games, like relax, but you know, there's sides of this that whether you want to or not are being explored, and it's cool like kind of putting that in the front and really looking at it.
Yeah, you know, and it's really cool to see, especially in the skirmish space too, because I think it's kind of, it's what's weird to me is my current relationship with role playing and how I find the role play I want to role play more in the skirmish space than I do in the TTRPG space right now, because it's kind of easier with skirmish to just play the game and to not RP and to get into a more heady space. But for me, like that's what's drawing me in, is the narrative skirmish part of it. So it is really cool to kind of start to lean into that heady space in relation to like the DIY aspect of the hobby, because you are so hands-on with the artistic elements of it. Again, in my opinion, differently than the TTRPG space, unless you are an artist in the TTRPG space, but like game design versus like painting or mini painting or things like that is a different type of space, you know? So it's cool to explore.
When you kind of start to dip into the like journaling games, you know, that kind of side of like TTRPG stuff where game design becomes like statement, you know. what I'm trying to remember the name of there's a lot of it on itch, of like games that are kind of designed to be a piece in and of itself, which is
Yeah.
like interesting. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's yeah. And then that's like a whole interesting thing to kind of explore as to why it's like more fun to role play in skirmish games sometimes than it is in TTRPGs. Maybe because there's not an expectation necessarily to role play, so
I
it
was
gives you the freedom to do it. I don't know.
I don't know. I think there might be less baggage too.
Well,
Um,
yeah, the baggage, yeah. No, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like maybe there's like an expectation already, like in a role playing game, where in the skirmish game you're only doing it because you want to. Like there really isn't an expectation necessarily that your dude has like a little voice and
yeah.
has opinions.
There also wasn't, I don't think, at the core of the movement, like 2+ decades of people telling you you're doing it wrong if you're not doing it their way. You know what I mean? I think that might help too, which is cool. But what I really do love about Fringe too is that they grew up, at least as far as I'm aware, what I've been able to read and find, is that they grew up from, or started from, events, like actual like community-based events. They I don't know a lot about Salute. It sounds like Europe's version of Adepticon, and having like an event next to it. It kind of sounds like if they did Under the Dice like at Adepticon, like it kind of, that's what it sounds like in my head, but I could be completely fucking wrong, and I do apologize if I am. But it's just a really, I don't know, it's a space that I've only recently discovered, and really want to find more information about, because I find it such an interesting, I don't know, the community is really interesting and is different than everything we've gone over so far. But again, I'll make sure to link that page below so people can find it. But yeah, it's an interesting community that I want to dig into. But that's Fringe. 2 zines exist for that right now, both of which are available in PDF, as well as other stuff too. They put out like a zine every time they do an event. So there's a lot of trifolds or small zines, which is really cool to see, because if they do like an Acropolis event or something like that, you can get the handouts for it, which is really neat. So
yeah, it's sick.
Yeah. Next one we're going to talk about is ooh, these are really cool. These are like, I don't know, I want to say kind of like, I don't want to say the most lo-fi kind of, but we'll get a little preview of something else too. But this is Cursed Manufactorum.
This is one on your list I had no background on, so give me the details. I've never heard of this one before.
So Cursed Manufactorum, I know their actual name because I follow their actual name on Instagram, but I couldn't like find them again before it started. Damn, that just got there. So Cursed Manufactorum is, I'm not gonna say anything about like who their personal life is and stuff like that, or what they do. So I'll just give the information about what they are. But and I can even just go to the website and specifically directly talk about that. So this is the tabletop wargaming RPG 28mm terrain building, miniatures painting, game mechanics, art zine making focused website is what Cursed Manufactorum is.
Cool.
Created by themselves. They've been in the hobby since 1993, where they bought their first Blood Angels Terminator mini and painted it with testers, gloss, enamel. So this is a person that has been in the space for decades at this point, and is just doing cool stuff and making cool things. And we're going to talk about shop a little bit in just a little bit, but I discovered them through the Friendship Friend Shop Print Guild. And that's what one of these is. And I'm not going to go, again, too deep into that right now. I'll bring it up a little bit later. But that's what this Rizzo printed version of it is. But they have put out, so far, what I've been able to find, and what you can find on their website, is 3 zines. One of them is called WYRD, WYRD. This is a zine about Mordheim. Issue 1. Hopefully there's more. These are probably, I want to say, again, the most lo-fi zines that are out there. These are clearly... again, printed locally or printed at home, stapled together. This is definitely a picture, I think, from the box art of the Mordheim board game slapped on the front.
Yeah.
And issue 1 it's pretty short too. It's only, I think, maybe like 8 to 12 pages. But basically, it starts with an introduction to what the zine is, which gives a little bit of history of Mordheim and kind of why they're writing about Mordheim. And again, in the Ink 28 space, like one of the biggest games out there really is Mordheim. That's another one of the kind of touchstones of the Ink 28 space. But they talk about Mordheim at Adepticon, And then they talk about the Chessmen, which is a group of people who made minis and boards and stuff for Mordheim. And they kind of go into their experience with it, and then talk about the Carnival of Chaos, which is a warband in Mordheim as well.
Mordheim,
and then have some pictures of some sculpts in the back. And that's pretty much it. And this is one of the ones I love the most, honestly. Like, it's if there's such Perzine is the word that Steve used. This if there isn't a Perzine, this is the fucking one. It literally is like how I feel about Mordheim, my friends that play Mordheim, and what I've done with Mordheim. That's what this is. This is literally a glimpse into this person's experience with Mordheim, and it's incredible. I loved it.
So if you've ever played Mordheim, this happens under the Dice Fest, probably at Adepticon as well. But what people will do is they'll make little zines about their warband, and they'll give them to you when you play against them. And in it will be like information about the characters and stuff in their lore and stuff like that. And what this feels like is that just taken to like the next step of being like, also here's my actual experience at Adepticon and how I feel about Mordheim, which is like really sick. But it feels like a continuation of that kind of culture where people make little zines about their characters and give them, which is really cool. It's like the coolest fucking part of that game. It's like so sick. People really get into it.
That's the coolest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. If I was playing a game with somebody and they're like, oh, by the way, here's a zine that of the lore of my warband, I would freak the fuck out.
Bro,
like that would be
it's an actual thing. It's like, honestly, it's what's so fucking funny about Mordheim is basically everybody thinks the rules kind of fucking suck. Like like the rules are fine, like they're cool. The fun parts about the rules are what happens between the games when your warband like levels up or gets sold into the pits because you rolled poorly on like a table, you know, like there's just like funny shit that happens in between the games. But like the rules themselves, like people really don't really care about. Like it's which is kind of like what you talked about with like the original like Inquisitor 54, which turned into what happens now. But people just want to make stuff and like tell stories. So it's like I'm serious. People will like print out little hand folded stapled zines that they'll give to people that they play against. It's like, it's so sick. And like you said, that's what, like, this is like a good example of that per zine, like personal zine kind of thing where somebody's really just talking about their favorite game and like their experience with it, which is like really cool. And hopefully like cool. People who are like being inspired by what we're talking about can see that like the barrier to entry is like pretty fucking low. Like basically like if you look at the graphic design, like half the shit they just ripped from Mordheim, like the little like special letters and stuff. They just like, you know, you could literally just print out, like go find a fucking bootleg copy online of Mordheim, like a digital PDF, print it out, cut out the fucking letters to make cool little headers. And then the rest you just do on like Google Docs. Like the barrier to entry is on the ground if you want to like make this stuff, you know?
But it's because this is what zines are. And I know this is a conversation and things change and things evolve and stuff like that. But when zines came out, zines were I mean, I'm not even going to get into the history of zines, but they originally were like, I don't want to say propaganda, but they were like things that you passed out that had information and things that were going on
like
and stuff
leaflets,
like that. And then when they became kind of more of a gaming zine and stuff like that, they still started out as more like this, a shit you made at home, a thing that you cut out and put together and stapled and did. It wasn't fucking pay and mixam to do your hyper polished bullshit.
Don't let Steven scare you, okay? Don't let Steven scare you. You just need opinions. That's all you fucking need, and opinions and a will to see it through. And you'll end up making cool stuff like this. Like it's just, your shit's gonna be cool just because you make it. Like that's all that is necessary.
This zine is so fucking cool. And again, it's not hyper polished. It, like you said, it's probably put together in like Google Docs, maybe. And it looks incredible. And it's one of my favorite zines because of that exact thing. And so many people want this DIY thing. And it's one of the things that made me really pull into the Ink 28 space and the skirmish space is the DIY aspect of everything, including the zines that they put out. Like they're not hyper polished. They're not done up to the nines. They're not trying to make $10,000 on the Kickstarter for it. They just had a cool idea. They slapped it on paper and handed it to some people, you know, like these zines are all free online. Like you can buy them, you can physically get them. And it's like, send me $10 over Instagram and I'll send you a zine or something like that. You know what I mean? Like or just go to the website and read it for free. I mean, look, I'll go to the website right now. We'll go boom, right? Here's the fucking website, right? It's got all three of the zines that I'm talking about. Maybe not number 2. It should though. I think you have to pull it from somewhere else, but this is Under High Propagandist issue 1. This is WYRD issue 1. I click this and it takes me into boom, like an online version of Acrobat that lets me read the entire zine straight through. right? And it's even in color on here. That's how easy it is to put this stuff out. So anyway, so the first one is about Mordheim, and the other two are about Necromunda, both of which are pretty popular games in the space. So the first one I have, this is from the Friend Shop, and again, I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But this is a zine about Necromunda. It talks about Adepticon 2025, the new Secundus game that dropped at the time, different cool stuff, and I love that the cover's in green and the inside's in pink, which my camera currently is not going to love. But it talks about Mordheim. It talks about their experience with Mordheim. It talks about Mordheim. It talks about Adepticon. Again, this is a Persian. Like, this is really their experiences with the things that they're encountering. It literally breaks down like the entire Adepticon 2025, even going into like Golden Demon and like all that kind of stuff. Like final thoughts about everything that was going on. This is literally just like their experiences with it. It's their thoughts on the Necromunda Hive Secundus that came out at the time, and then in the back, I think they have some like Archaeotech for Necromunda. Right. This is incredible. I love this thing so much. It's insane. Number two does kind of lean more into content. This one specifically, and then it came with some printed out stuff for it too. A scenario for running this.
For those who don't know, Necromunda is basically fantasy, sci-fi Mordheim. Like it's different, but it's like
to an extent
the same kind of touchstone where it's like this old dead game that people play because we love old dead games for, you know, but it's like it's sci-fi.
There's like there's issue number 3 that just came out, but
the version people like to play is like the
old version. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But well, Necromunda is like, if you know 40K at all, Space Marines and shit like that. Yeah, the fucking planets will often have these like hive cities where it's just this like fucking hive of people with like 1 billion people in this like tiny little space, and one of those is Mordheim, which is full of like hives and stuff. But
one of them is Necromunda.
Or Necromunda, which is full of hives. Yeah. Number 2 is all about specifically like a Nurgle cultist gang. In the beginning here, it basically talks about the rules don't matter for Necromunda. It's like an editorial about where they're saying just play the fucking game, like do whatever. There's like 5 versions of it already. Yeah. And then there's a whole big thing here, literally spelling out a whole Cult of Nurgle gang rules, everything for it. A final thought in the back here that talks about like old Necromunda art versus new Necromunda art, which old GW art is 1,000,000 times better than new GW art. You just have to look at the covers. And then again, like this is just boom, printed out, that was slipped in this the thing before it got sent to me. Scenarios for the things that this is for. Like this couldn't be fucking cooler. These are some of my favorite ones, just because of how like DIY all of these are. So this is Cursed Manufactorum. And
it
again,
feels like your homie whipped up a scenario and just sent you like the file. Like that's what it feels like. Those little printouts.
What it is.
Yeah, which is like which is the fucking best, right? Like it's so tight. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we are done with magazines and zines. What we have next, we're getting into digests. Ooh. Or digest size thing. So the first one we're going to talk about is Tabletop and Wargame Digest. This is put out by Slade.
The newest one in our list?
I think so, considering it came out September, October of 2025. I do think it is the newest one. But it is cool as shit and thick as a brick. It is, this is put out by Slade Gulen of, I'm probably saying that wrong. This is Ex Obscuris. I got a bunch of their stuff in the other room. They do a bunch of cool minis. They do a bunch of cool, like, pewter hand cast metal stuff. Yeah.
As
well as working on a game, Blood Red Blades. I have a bunch of those minis in the other room too. But this did launch in 2025, September, October 2025. It is a gaming digest by the community for the community, composed entirely of community submissions. It aims to keep the hobby community stoked, inspired, and collaborative. I should have the PDF downloaded. Boom, there it is.
Yeah, and as you said, it's literally all contributor submissions. Like the whole thing is just contributor submissions, which is like really awesome. It's just basically he's like, here's a platform for everybody just to submit whatever the fuck they want, and I'm gonna publish it in this, like, which this one also really harkens back to like old school like self published community published like tabletop and war gaming like publications, which was like a thing back in the day. Like what he's channeling here was a thing where, you know, before blogs and stuff existed, people would kind of all send their submissions to one dude, he'd package it and then send it out to everybody all together. That was like a thing that used to happen. That's what this is, like a harkening back to.
I want to do that so bad, where I just you put a zine together and everyone prints you 5 copies of their thing. Yeah. Right. And then you, or 10 or whatever, just send me a stack. And then I put them all together, mail one back to everybody. And then you have like 10 left over to like give away or do with, or do whatever. I mean, if you have everyone mail you like 30 copies of their shit, you can give away fucking, I guess if there's 10 people, you can give away 20. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, totally.
Just mail it to one person, collate it all by one person, mail it all back. That's a dream. If it's just like your group to actually physically have that, because instead of having that all in a Discord channel somewhere, like being like, no, print it out, send it to me, and then we'll have a zine. Like, imagine if your Discord channel had a zine that you put out like every 3 months of just all the stuff that people put together that only went to you because you submitted something. Like, if you don't send me a piece of paper, you're not going to get a copy of the zine because I need your piece of paper to send you back like your version of it, which would be incredible.
Which, like, you're saying that, and like, but we're not kidding. Like, this used to be how this stuff happened, like pre-internet. Like, this is a real thing. I don't remember what they were called. There's like a name for what this was, but you know, you didn't have Discord. You didn't even have like forums, like pre-internet, right? So like, literally, you stayed connected with people who weren't in your city via the mail, via like paper mail, and they would send all their submissions in. And I think Slade, even kind of when he first started talking about putting this out, this is what he's like trying to harken back to, is everybody would send in their submissions, and like you're saying, a dude would get it all together, maybe turn it into like an actual little booklet, probably not, probably into a packet staple that would what they'd probably do is put all the paper together, do like 3 staples on the side, you know, so it's like a book, but it's not really, and then just would ship it out to everybody. One dude would organize it, and that's how you got your like, that's how you found out like the campaign your friend was running. That's how you found out like the cool new supplement that your friend wrote. You know, that's how all of that stuff stayed connected. Which sounds incredibly inefficient, but also really, really sick.
That sounds sick as fuck. Like, that sounds incredible. I mean, even just looking at the inside page here where it talks about submissions wanted, like that, even the graphic design, all that harkens back so fucking hard. Like, no page limit, exclamation point, like 5.5 by 8.5 page size, like, have an idea not listed, shoot me an email, like, submit to here, like, do this, do that. And it says at the bottom, submissions will be published November, December. I think it originally was supposed to be a monthly thing, but I'm sorry, there's no fucking way. It's 124 pages.
When I saw him say monthly, because I met Slade at Under the Dice Fest, he's the fucking coolest dude ever. But when I saw him mention monthly, and I had already done like the first issue, was working on issue 2 of Glaive, when I said it was going to be quarterly, which I think we're about to be like 3 issues, which is like good, but even quarterly, I was like, that's crazy. But then seeing him try to do this monthly, I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?
Even just the turnaround time to print it would be insane. So I think he even came out and said it's probably going to be quarterly or something at this point, which is really great. But I don't know if he expected it to be 125 pages for the first one.
Definitely
but it is. But you know, running through a lot of this stuff, since this is all community submissions, it's really cool little spotlight of what the community is fucking doing. You know what I mean? Which is great. So running through stuff here, we got Twin-Tailed Ruin, scenes from a Mordheim campaign. We got Vassal, an AD&D playable race. You got Plot Armor, a Mordheim house rules. You got Voices from the Past, which is hobby articles and letters from decades past, which is super fun to read because exactly what we talked about before. When people are really mad about something, they'll let you know. We got Flames of Orion faction, Renegade Kaiju Defense Force, a whole game from Hodag, Magic the Gathering deck guide off the wall. We got a guide to hosting beginner painting events, which is a really fucking cool thing. Collection of hobby submissions, sculpting tutorial, another sculpting tutorial, another guide for hosting events, another Flames of Orion rule set, event recap, minigame supplements for ttrpgs, and then in the back, there's a bulletin board for announcement letters and shout outs, and then some upcoming event stuff all the way in the back. So, and it's 125 pages of like old school style, very small fucking, I mean, it's a little bit different. Everyone submitted something with different sizes and things like that, but it's a lot of it is very small text. which is
Because
crazy.
I think what he says is basically like, you can send me the like what did you say, 5.5 by 8, or is that what it is?
5.5 by, I think it's 8.5. 5.5 by 8.5,
Oh,
I think
sorry.
is
Yeah,
digest
yeah.
size.
5.5 by 8.5. Yeah. He's like, you can send me the like laid out version, or just send me the text and I will just like put it in, which I think is where you get these ones where it's just like typewriter, like courier font, just like really fucking bare bones, which is, you know, like exactly what we're describing. He literally just takes what people sent, slapped it in a file all together, and that's it. Like, no additional effort into making this like a cohesive thing in like the best way, you know?
Yeah. In the absolute best way, which I then can understand kind of like why he thought maybe you could do it every month, but that's still a lot.
It's
But I
still
mean,
a lot of logistics. Yeah.
but the amount of stuff in here too, even like the ads and stuff they go through, like here's a whole like 2-page spread for Wonder Reward CC 10K from Tanner Simpson, right? And there was a whole thing previously put out from Tanner, which I actually have a zine for, so we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a little bit. But I mean, the stuff like this, the Mordheim thing, like you said, it literally is just like a Mordheim meta that they just ripped out of a fucking book and put it in here. It's incredible. It's incredible. And even this, like the letters from the past, which are just like Xerox like photocopies that are like warped because they got put on a copy machine. Incredible. Incredible stuff. So it's this one, I mean, goes hard. It's a lot. This is definitely one that I've like taken to work, sat down with when I was like not doing anything, flipped through, came back to. I mean, it's like it's a digest. It's like my mom used to get Reader's Digest at home, and they were all bathroom books that you would always like go through a little bit at a time.
Put it on your toilet, on your fucking toilet thing, and just when it, got a little something to look at instead of doom scrolling. It's definitely like a brick you have to spend some time to like chew and digest through, because it's like it is just straight up people sending it whatever the fuck they want, which is like really cool, but requires like some parsing through and taking time with.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love this one, again, as something that, you know, the other ones, especially the small zines, you can kind of just like flip through, have cool, that's great. This one as like actual reading material is fantastic. But that is Tabletop and Wargame Digest from Ex Obscuris. Next one, we talked about it a little bit already. Ugh. So we'll grab these bad boys are Knock 1 through 5. Knock is from the Merry Mushman. The first one was released in 2021. It is an adventure gaming bric-a-brac is what they describe it as. And they also describe it as a compendium of miscellanea for old school RPGs. This is a bric-a-brac for OSR shit. This is everything compatible with OSE and anything BX and all of the rest of that stuff and more. If you're in ttrpgs, you fucking know these. Like they're kind of like a staple at this point in the space, which is really, really cool. But on top of that, the art is all fucking incredible. I think, was every cover done by Bruno Prosecco, or was it just like the last couple? I do not remember, but like obviously these are all like Bruno's art. If you know what I'm saying, then you know what I'm saying. Cover is Tim Malloy, so I think just the last 3 were that. But one of my favorite things about Knock is like the covers and what they do with them. So for those in podcast land, you can't see this, so watch it or buy it. But it's a completely like quote unquote like virgin cover. Like there's no writing or anything on the front cover. It's just the image itself. And then on the side cover, it will have like the Knock and then the stuff on the back. But it is a dust jacket. So that then you get to the actual book and it does have all of the stuff like an adventure gaming bric-a-brac, like number 1, Knock, all that kind of things. But what I like about the dust cover is that they don't waste a single bit of space. These things are jam-packed. The layout's incredible, but it's jam-packed. But all of the dust jackets also have even more stuff on like every possible like level of it as well. To the point where I think there's even in some of them, even the inside like part that goes along the spine has stuff in it. This is a 2d6 reaction table right here. They don't waste a single fucking bit of space. And then there is even more on like a card that came with it. So it's incredible the amount of stuff that they get put in here. And it is a bric-a-brac. It is a mix and match. It is adventure stuff. It is game stuff. It is I know like Source of Victory has their cyclic dungeon generation in here. It's literally anything and everything you could possibly use for old school games, quote unquote, all put together in these just insane zines and digests. I mean, they're fucking huge.
I'd also
210
argue,
pages.
Yeah, like I'd also argue at least the first couple issues, I don't know about the later ones, but they're also like an archive of early OSR blogs. Like a lot of the articles in the first couple ones are not original. Like they're reprint, they're like in print form, some of the like essential OSR blogs that kind of shaped the culture in that space, like the ones that really have defined and like, you know, a lot of terms and stuff that we use nowadays are because of these original blogs, and like play styles come from these like original blogs, and they're included and like reprinted in here with really dope, like crazy layout. And there's original content as well in the first few, and I'm assuming more and more in the later ones. But that's what I really love about these is like, I have bookmarks on all of these, you know, like important blog posts of the past like however many years that have really like defined the play styles that we have been gravitate towards. But I don't enjoy, like, I'm not going to go through my bookmarks and like, oh, let me read back up on that, you know, post that you know, article about whatever, about dungeon design that was, so when I first read it, like blew my fucking mind. But, you know, I'm not going to go back like Goblin Punch, right? Like Arnold K, Goblin Punch, like that fucking blog is pivotal, you know, 10-foot pole, like just look, the Bastion Land, like all of those fucking dudes are like my idols when it comes to like game design and OSR play and all that kind of stuff. They're like the fucking dudes who shaped my taste when it comes to tabletop role-playing games. And so being able to have like a physical book and like a zine that, or magazine, I mean, whatever you want to call this thing, it's a bric-a-brac, it's this big fucking brick of material. But being able to have that and flip through and like see those articles again and like spend time with them in this much more enjoyable format than like going on my web browser and pulling up like old archive like stuff is amazing. It's a gift to our community. And you know, if, you know, those servers get like explode and they don't exist anymore, like we'll have these books that'll have like that information, you know, for us. I mean, we've seen like blogs go down, and we've seen like, you know, some of these like these things like disappear before. So like being able to have it in print, it means that it's never going to go away unless you like, you know, burn the or whatever, like you lose it. But
yeah. I mean, more and more physical media is incredibly important because you can actually own it, and it can't be taken away from you unless someone physically takes it away from you. You know, it's not like, you know, buying a movie on Amazon or some shit, and the next time they get rid of it, your $20 is gone, you know, because buying isn't owning anymore. So yeah, it's incredibly important. I mean, even when you go through the list of contributors here, hitting the, not even all the names, but you're talking about people like Amy Allen, you're talking about Paolo Greco, you're talking about, like you said, Bryce Lynch, Fiona Maeve-Guy, Sean McCoy, Chris McDowell, Gavin Norman, Sean Stone. I mean, Skull Fungus, just it's an incredible list of not only writers or, like you said, old articles, but stuff and art too. The art throughout the entire book is incredible. All of the covers are incredible. I mean, and the layout is great. I mean, that's one thing that you can always get from Merry Mushman and all the adventures they put out, everything you do. It's, man, does it look fucking good. Like, it is just an incredible, they do an incredible stuff. Edited by Eric Newton. But the layout always done by Olivier Revenue. Also one of the best in this space, especially when you want more, something that does lean a little bit more, I want to say traditional, but with like fucking bite to it. It's like if Morkborg was legible. You know, it's like, it's got that kind of, you know, like even looking at like the yellow fucking colored, like, you know, public domain, like art, like that kind of thing is like, I don't mean that in a negative way. Like that's, you know, I think that art punk stuff is like really cool, you know, and it's like tastefully done here where you can actually read the articles. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a conversation. I think Merkborg is very legible, but yeah, I completely hear what you're saying. Completely agree. I mean, they do use a lot of really good. They just don't get super weird with it, but definitely go. That's what I'm saying. Go hard on it, you know, because you are gonna have pages in here that are like, you know, you got white on red, you got pink on black. Like they don't shy away from colors and fonts and things like that, but they definitely keep it like the font is almost always still like. That's what I'm saying. Parallel and perpendicular.
Yeah, they take that art punk like in your face thing, but then they like are actually like, obviously he does real graphic design and knows that you need to like have the lines go across the whole page, and like there's like these things that you need to do to make something technically easy to read. But big shout out to the graphic design.
They're incredible, and all of them are absolutely stunning. I mean, when you actually go through like the art on all of these, and if my camera doesn't focus, I'm gonna flip the fuck out. But like, they're absolutely stunning. And again, I'm pretty sure I know this is Bruno. I'm pretty sure that he's the cover artist for all of them from 3 on. Bruno Prosecco. Pretty positive this is Bruno as well. And I know the last one is. Bruno is like the last 3. Incredible artists. Incredibly nice person as well. Worked with them a little bit on something. But the fact that the art not only gets to be like a full front back spread, but you get to have like this virgin cover with like all the rest of the stuff in it as well. I don't know. There's not. This is one of those projects where you look at and you can't find anything wrong with it. You know what I mean? Like every now and then you'll get something that is like so peak. It is like the thing to strive for. And that's what Knock is, I think, to a lot of people. Because, one of the that they talk about here in the, I don't know why it got weird on me. But one of the things that it talks about is, in this intro part is like what it is, kind of the forward. We met at La Maison, Mushman, wanted to bring you a snapshot of our gaming culture bound into the venerable codex form. Exactly what we were talking about. A colorful brick of old-timey fun. The first issue is a bet on your interest in owning content you may have read before, collected in this dense volume for posterity and for prep sessions. I mean, this is kind of like the OSR version of 28 Mag is what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So... they're incredible. They always get kickstarted. I'm sure the next one's coming soon. I think they have Josh McCrowell on now as like the editor for it. If you've looked at His Majesty the Worm at all, but he's one of the people that works over at the Merry Mushman now. Next is another one of the newer ones that have come out. This is Secret Passages.
Oh yeah.
Secret Passages 1 and 2 and 3 was on Kickstarted recently. First one came out in early 2025. Written by James Horry is what I'm going to say. Hoare. Again, I apologize that my pronunciations are terrible. This was released first one in early 2025. Second one in summer 2025. This is a new quarterly zine packed with interviews and illustrations that explore what they call the RPGs and wargames that raised us. And they're really neat. So these, again, are little digests. These are like perfect bound. They're a little bit thinner than what I would call the bricks that were Tabletop Wargaming Digest and Knock. But they still come in at about like 60 pages. They're really neat. Celebration of classic tabletop gaming. So these are really exactly what they say. This is just a kind of like who's who of the games. You got Breaking the Lore, the first Warhammer 40k novel. So this is one all about Inquisitor, which is now called Draco. It gets deep into the very first novel ever printed for Warhammer, which is super fucking weird and really horny and has like a lot of stuff that like they have squats in it. I think at one point in the Inquisition War trilogy, they have like Space Marines piloting Titans and shit. So it's when the lore was not settled at all. So it's really interesting. They have an article here on Vampire the Requiem. My favorite article in number 1, and again, we've talked about this over and over and over again, actually is I didn't download it from the thing, is an article about Mordheim. It was this person who wanted to get into Mordheim, and they live in Norwich, which is the hub of GW and everything. So they reached out and actually heard back from John Blanche, who apparently was down to play a game, and got to play Mordheim with John Blanche, and that was kind of like their introduction into it, and then talking about the game and all that kind of stuff. And that was one of my
for those who don't know, John Blanche is the artist that did all the like pivotal Mordheim arts. And what people love about Mordheim so much is the aesthetic. Like it's probably like 90% of why people love that game so much. And John Blanche is the artist for that. So like, that's why that's so huge and is like crazy that they got to play a game with him.
Yeah, and not even just Mordheim, but like kind of GW in general, like the early Inquisitors, the early Primarchs, like basically the entire style of Games Workshop is because of John Blanche. And like, I mean, Blanchitsu
and Grimdark, like style. Yeah, like Grimdark is John Blanche. If you don't know the name, you know the art. Like,
yeah, 1,000,000%. Like, you've seen it. Yeah. If you've ever looked at art, you've seen John Blanche art. But so this is number one, which is really cool. But going through the articles, like I said, there's Interview with the Vampire, which talks about Vampire the Masquerade, Into a World of Magic and Mayhem, which gets into Advanced Hero Quest, Fear of a Black Comet, which is the article about Mordheim, The Drawing of Chaos, which is talking about Mythos artist Dave talks with White Dwarf, Call of Cthulhu, and illustrations too gruesome for fighting fantasy. I mean, it's all the stuff that he like. Dude's like 35 years old and was like, this is what I grew up on. And it's everything we've already talked about. My favorite article in number one is the Fear of a Black Comet one, which was written by, where's contributor ones? Tom Evans. There's a whole list here of all the contributors. And number two, actually, my favorite article was also written by Tom Evans. He has an article in here that's called Dice the Main Brace, which is a fan-made skirmish game called Warhammer Ahoy, which provided like basically like a pirate skirmish game that GW like basically ripped off and turned into like the ocean kind of war game, which was really, really interesting. It still exists, which was really neat. You can get like the 3rd edition of Warhammer Ahoy and play like skirmish games meant to be on like ports and rivers and things like that, which is really, really cool. But that is cool. So newer one that just came out this year, Secret Passages. Number 3, like I said, was just on Kickstarter. You can go to their Ko-Fi page. I'll make sure the link is below, and I think they might even still have some physical copies of number 1 out there. But you can pretty much still get all of them. It is new enough, and I think they printed enough copies due to the Kickstarter and things like that. And that is the end of the physicals for the most part. The last 2 things I want to touch on a little bit here are related to what we talked about. The first one is, again, another thing that I've only like recently discovered and started digging into. I don't know if you have more experience with this at all, but is the Department of Wargaming. The website says, let me pull up the website. Copyright. Yeah, copyright 2023 at the bottom. Let me do that, and we'll go over here, and then I'll do this. So, Department of Wargaming. They are a community. They are a library. It started in 2023. It says their mission is to bring the hobby community together to make a more inclusive space and to show off the amazing people behind some of the hobby's most amazing art. Again, massive community library, and also publishing services that I was unaware of, but they have I mean, that's where the Fringe zine came from, was printed by Department of Wargaming. They host like the Fringe community stuff here on the website. So when you go down through this and when you actually look at what's in the store, or what's in like the publishing section, there is so much that I was like, I want and need all of this. It's incredible the amount of things that they have, even as far as like shirts and things like that, hobby materials. The library of different games and zines and adventures they put out is crazy, including like featured artists and things like that. A whole community of resources that you can go through as well. But there is just so much stuff. And then they also offer, like I said, the publishing service, which is what I was unaware of. Apparently, it's like everything: that rules writing, producing, layout, design, artwork, illustration, model concepting, design and playtesting, photography, project concepting, model painting, kit bashing, project planning and management, and visual design stuff. Literally, basically, like if you have something and you need something to make it exist, you apparently can just reach out to these people, and they will help you from nothing to something as much as they can, whether it ends up being printed or not. So this is something I want to dig into a little bit deeper. But again, I bought the physical version of Fringe off of this, and it seems incredible. So I definitely want to reach out to them and kind of just get the lowdown of like what they're doing, because it seems really, really fantastic. So
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So that is the Department of Wargaming. And then the very last thing I want to talk about is the Friendship Print Guild Print Shop, which is like the coolest thing ever. It is They're based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're a print shop, just like your community probably has a print shop, but they really get weird with it. I mean, they really focus a lot on artists and makers. They do apparel stuff. They do zine stuff. They do books. They do all sorts of things. Dream Journal here. They have just a plethora of incredible stuff. But why I found them originally was in their zine list. I snagged a bunch of stuff and was introduced to a bunch of stuff because of it. They have a bunch of stuff from Tanner Simpson in here. They have just from Tanner, they have the Duel little Rizzo printed flip through of their game Duel. They have Deep Dark Fishing Fantasy, which is a thick little boy all about like fishing. That it's funny because when I posted about this on Instagram, Tanner messaged me and was like, hey, it's cool that you got it, it kind of works, let me know. And it's really neat. So I take this to work and play with this. And I always forget what this one is called, Idols of Pilgrimage, but we saw this big chunk of this printed in the Tabletop Wargame Digest. This is again another little Rizzo printed, but if you look at it, like, they're not expensive by any stretch of the imagination. This was $7.50 Rizzo printed, but like they don't even like trim off the edge or anything. Like they just slap it together, put a staple in it, and go. Gum is a game put out by Vertigris in here, but his standard came. Awesome creator, got to have been playing with them a bunch about stuff. But this is
I've seen this.
A sick game, about just fucked up kids in the city, like Victorian times. Like if you were like a gang of children that would go around robbing people, your warband is a bunch of kids. And it's an incredible game, and that's how I got introduced to it, and then reached out to him, met him, and got to play Flames of Orion recently with him and stuff. And cool fucking guy, and this is an incredible fucking game. But if you look at this, they literally just like chopped up both sides, put a couple staples in it, and sent it out. And this was like $10, and I couldn't love more that it's not perfect. Like, I love that it's not lined up right. I love that it's just 3 staples. And then two of the other things I got from them are the Big Boy Game Time. This is how I find them, because they actually posted that they put these out. But the 2 boss fight scenes from Big Boy Game Time are Rizzo printed. And the first one is stapled like an inch in from the edge, which is incredible to me. And then the other one is actually sewn like an inch in from the edge and is definitely not like fixed or chopped off. Which again makes it even more perfect that it's not perfect. But just an incredible little shop. And I've also, through finding these zines, bought a lot more other things on there, like comics and other books and art collections and things like that. What they're doing is fantastic and is incredibly interesting. And the people that they're actually putting stuff out for is really neat. They also print a bunch of t-shirts from people. But I grabbed a lot of these Karl Antonovich like comic collections that were absolutely incredible. But Under High Propagandist is one I talked about earlier that had that green cover. There was on this as well. And I think this is how I found Curse MANUFACTORUM. I was like, oh fuck, of course I'm going to get the Necromunda zine. And then I found all this stuff. So more print shops, please do weird freaky shit like they're doing, because it's incredible. But this is the Friend Shop Print Guild. Yeah.
I wonder if they're just printing on demand too, like if they have all the printers and everything, if they're just like, when somebody orders one, they just print that out, because they have kind of everything ready to go, it seems.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you can, there's a whole thing to like a quote thing to just be like, hey, you got a zine you want to print, just hit us up and we'll figure out how to do it. But the fact that they can just be like, cool, we'll do it, and it's like $10, we'll Rizzo print it and just like sew it off the side and throw it out the door is fucking perfect. I love, again, I love how imperfect it is, because it feels so much better than like a mix, like a $15 Mixam 50-page ttrpg. Like, this just feels so much better to me. I don't know.
Totally.
And that's
well, and like you said, you probably have a print shop somewhat close by or very close by in your area, and 9 times out of 10 those print shops do like workshops and stuff like that. So, you know, obligatory, like if you're into what we're talking about, there is community around you. You just have to look for it. And if you're really into like this idea of like printing zines, even if it's not for gaming, I mean, zines, we're acting like zine culture is like because of it's
culture?
gaming culture.
Yeah.
It's not. Zine culture is like its own thing. Like people make zines about their poetry, people make zines about their art, people make zines about their political state. Like zines exist across the spectrum. And if you like to make stuff and you enjoy DIY, this is an incredible space to get involved in. Like, yeah. So find your local print shop and they'll like hook you up with like, you know, cool resources, and you'll find a community that like to make cool stuff. So definitely like explore. Like there's the whole vast world. We're just looking at it through the lens of our medium of choice, which is gaming, whether tabletop or whatever. But yeah.
I was looking for some of the ones. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find them as fast as I want to. Oh, I am. Yeah, because exactly what we're talking about. Here's some other stuff. Again, because we are not the creators of this. This is literally a zine that is it's just a print of Sabotage, the conscious withdrawal of workers' industrial efficiency. This is a zine about industrial unionism. The road to freedom is about creating unions. This is the Gonzo Times is a zine put out by like former U.S. Marines about basically like fuck war. And this is put out by Hobo Collective. They used to have a podcast, and then they started putting out these like print stuff, but that's where I got all of this stuff. And not a single bit of this is gaming content. Like this is like political content. This is societal content. This is literally a zine about like forming industrial unions. Like,
yeah,
it is our lens because it's what we know and what we're into right now, but it is not ours. The zines are not gaming specific or even created by or for gaming originally. So there's a lot of there's a massive zine culture out there that has nothing to fucking do with gaming at all, and it's cool to see. But yeah, that is zines, magazines, periodicals, cool shit that's going on that is sometimes game content, sometimes isn't, but is usually a series that you can get into and find your niche. You know, if you're not into all of those things, you're just into the culture stuff, grab Glaive. Where can people grab Glaive right now?
Store.hotheadcollective.com. Although we're sold at well, we're actually sold out of basically everything. I think yeah, we talked about this before, but Glaive is print only because, you know, we want to engage with the physical stuff. It also is like printed and then done because I think that's kind of, I don't know, I think it's cool. But yeah, I think we're fully sold out. So issue 3 is in the works right now. Almost done with production. Gonna go to the printers very soon. I don't want to, you know, fuck myself, but March is looking like the release for that, hopefully. A lot of cool stuff. People we talked about in this episode are going to be in that. So yeah, like really cool shit is coming up with issue 3. But right now, just go to store.hotheadcollective.com. There's a retail or a stockist button. Click on that. It shows all of the stores that stock Glaive magazine, and kind of pop your way through there and see if a local spot like still has a copy. They do still exist, but issue 2 is starting to disappear. So if you want to grab a copy, like definitely pop over and try to find one. Because like I'm personally out of copies that I have, so they're just at like local retailers now. So
yeah, I both love and hate that. Like I have a collector bug, obviously, so I love when I do have like a number 1 of something and then there's like a million of them later. But the fact that there's like 2 zines that we just did on the show here that like I don't have the number 1 of is going to drive me insane forever, and I've already put them on like a list. So we'll get around to it. But that's it. Any last words? Are we good?
I think that's it. I mean, that's probably the most exhaustive primer on, you know, print media from the gaming side. I'm impressed at how much we covered. Honestly, we went all over the place. Well done, Ryan. Good job.
Look at us. Yeah. We did it. And thank you so much for being here. I mean, again, you're the context that you have for print media and for a lot of everything that we talked about. Like I'm like, it's also dope that like, you know, like 90% of what was brought up and own like a vast majority of it too. So it's really cool. Like you were definitely a perfect guest to have on the show. And it's, I mean, you're going to be on here way more throughout the year, which is really, really cool. But make sure, you know, if you're out there, make sure you follow Hothead Collective, grab Glaive if you can, and keep up with the stuff that CJ's doing, because again, fucking a beacon in the space that we're in, and for good reason too. So Once again, thank you so much for being here. And that is going to be our episode for today. Catch us in the future for other stuff, right? Bye, everybody.
See ya.